Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the November 15th, 2016 Board of Supervisors meeting. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. A little announcement. Our agenda person, Sherry, has laryngitis, and her voice has left her. She can't talk, and so I'm going to fill in for her a little bit this morning, okay? All right. So first we'll do the roll call. I will call the roll. And how about that? I have my instructions here. Okay, Supervisor Pine.
Here.
Supervisor Groom.
Present.
Supervisor Horsley.
Present.
Supervisor Tissier.
Here.
President Slocum. Here. How'd I do?
Okay. You do it again.
Yeah. Now we'll move to public comment. And public comment, as you know, is reserved for persons wishing to address the board on county-related matters that are not otherwise on this agenda, as well as items that are listed on the consent agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes, and that's the way it's going to be, okay? 2 minutes. Now, we have 2 speaker cards. The first one is Martin Fox.
Good morning, President Slocum, members of the board, my fellow veteran, Mr. Maltby, and County Council, Mr. Byers. Thank you for your service to the county. And thank you for authorizing assisted outpatient treatment known as Laura's Law. Please waive all of the civil and criminal immunities that the Lanterman-Peters Short Act provides to those who decide to stop or deny treatment to persons living with serious mental illness, but do not meet Laura's Law multiple hospitalization, incarceration, or incidents of violence criteria. Assisted outpatient treatment is a more compassionate response to those who live with serious mental illness complicated by an inability to understand their need for treatment, as well as those affected by the consequences of their behavior. By providing the intensive case management that produces effective and economic recidivism reduction, but at the cost of using multiple hospitalizations or incarceration or an incidence of violence eligibility criteria. The intellectually and morally bankrupt Lanterman-Peters Short Act Danger to Self or Others criteria, called 5150, continues to provide an incentive for those who can decide to stop or deny needed treatment to a person with serious mental illness, to do so by protecting them from being held accountable for their negligence in the civil courts and even their intentional conduct that could send them to prison. Please reject the self-serving misstatements of fact and misrepresentations of law made by the supporters of the intellectually and morally bankrupt Lanterman-Peters Short Act, who use the act to line their pockets by waiving all of the civil and criminal immunities that the act provides to those who decide to stop or deny treatment to persons living with serious mental illness, but do not meet Laura's Law multiple hospitalization, incarceration, or incidents of violence criteria. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Brent Turner.
Thank you, President Slocum and supervisors, county council manager. I wanted to come before you today not to provide more bad news for the country, but rather to highlight the fact that San Mateo County can play a crucial role in our work to secure the United States election systems. We in California tend to lead the country on technology matters, and with the right energy and direction coming from San Mateo County, working with San Francisco County, we can move forward the effort to secure the voting systems via open source software. The software issue is crucial to the security of the systems, and it may be counterintuitive to some, but the fact is an open source environment is in keeping with best methods highlighted by the Department of Defense and NASA. I would appreciate it if we could put together a task force or an elections commission or something in the county so we could move toward less expensive, more secure systems. We certainly do not want to go back into contract with a proprietary vendor, and we do recognize that the Microsoft lobby is very intense and heavy-handed in this area. So for the sake of the country, I implore you to move this forward. We have been dealing directly with the Department of Elections in San Mateo County. I would encourage you to look at the events log and the incident logs from the last election. There have been reports of Hispanic people being asked and people of color for their ID cards. And I'll come before you again in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. We'll move now to the action to set the agenda and approve the consent agenda items. I would like to move item 43, 5, 6, and 7 to the regular agenda, if we could. That'll be in the form of a motion.
Second the motion?
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Yeah, but I'm going to move it to, so, yeah. And we'll move 5, 6, and 7 right after the San Mateo County Exposition Center. Is that okay?
That's fine, yeah, 5, 6, and 7 are already on the regular agenda,
Yeah,
so,
right.
right, okay.
We'll just
So-
move it.
So the idea is to move number 43 after the Expo Center presentation?
Yes, do item 43 after the expo, and then 5, 6, and 7.
Fantastic.
So
Thank-
the folks can get back to work.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We good?
Good.
Yeah. Okay. First item is a presentation of a proclamation designating November 2016 as National Adoption Month. And I am going to do that.
Yeah, I think we did. It was 4 of us, so.
First of all, every year more than 100,000 children, that's 100,000 children and youth in the U.S. foster care system seek permanent families. Having a permanent family connection, as we all know, is critical for older youth to have legal and emotional support as they transition into adulthood and strive for achievement, growth, and well-being. In this last fiscal year, the Human Services Agency completed a total of 18 adoptions to connect our foster youth to loving homes so they can thrive and enjoy the childhood that they deserve. As of August, we have 2 children legally ready for adoption and around 83 in the planning stages. The county and this board reaffirms that each and every child and youth deserves a loving, nurturing, and permanent home. After we do the motion for the proclamation, we're going to hear from Nicole Pollock and 2 adoptive parents, Ron and Maribeth Ortiz. And so I'd like to make a motion that we approve the proclamation designating November as National Adoption Month.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Nicole?
Good morning, President Slocum.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Come over here first. Maybe the adoptive parents want to.
Yes.
Oh, look at this little one, cute. Oh, it's cute. Yeah, oh, that's school, yeah.
Well, I'm honored to have a second chance to say good morning. So good morning, President Slocum, honorable members of the board, Mr. Maltby and Mr. Byers. I am Nicole Pollock, the Assistant Director with the Human Services Agency, and I am honored to join you today as we proclaim November as National Adoptions Month. Across the nation, National Adoption Month is being celebrated to honor and express our gratitude for families like the Ortiz family who have opened their hearts and homes to children in foster care. It is also bringing awareness of the importance of adoption for adoptive families and the need for future adoptive families. When a child enters Children and Family Services, our immediate goal is to support the family to reunify the child as soon as possible. At times when that fails, our hope is to find a family a loving, safe, and stable family who can provide an excellent childhood for those in our care. I am honored to introduce you to the Ortiz family this morning, and Ron and Mary Beth are here today to share their journey as adoptive parents. Ron and Mary Beth are a compassionate couple who always knew they wanted a family. They both grew up in large, close-knit families with values and wanted to extend theirs. We were able to match the Ortiz family with the birth mother before she gave birth, and they were able to be present for their son Bruno's birth. After the adoption of their son, the Ortiz family opened their home and hearts to his older half-sister. They are still committed to build a bond and connection with the two siblings. So the two siblings, Bruno and his half-sister, continue to stay in contact. And Ron and Mary Beth even have a room in their home so that she can come and visit frequently. Around this time last year, the Ortiz family finalized the adoption for their beautiful daughter here holding her teddy bear. Ron and Mary Beth are an outstanding example of what a loving family is and the type of positive impact they could provide to children in our care. Please join me in welcoming Ron and Mary Beth Ortiz and accepting this year's proclamation.
Hi, good morning. As you can hear, our family. We just want to really say thank you to the Board of Supervisors and everyone. We've had a really great experience in putting together our family. It couldn't have been done without the hard work of everyone that worked for and with us. We had no idea, or I didn't, how much work actually all of the folks that work with us. You guys have an amazing staff that's overworked and probably severely underpaid, but they really have been amazing, and none of this would be possible without all of their hard work. So we just want to really say thank you, and we appreciate you guys supporting this because it's been a blessing for us.
I just want to say, echo what Ron said, but for us, this was the perfect way to build our family. And without everybody's, I know, sorry, we're potty training. Without everybody's, she'll tell you the whole time. Without everybody's work, like Ron said, we wouldn't have the opportunity we have. We wouldn't have the relationship with Araya that we have. That's Bruno's sister, and she was with us this weekend, huh? So we're very, very lucky to have everybody here who put our family together for us and to be blessed with the beautiful babies that we have. So thank you for everything. We appreciate these programs and your taking the time to spend with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, family. Now we'll move on to item number 1, which is a presentation. Actually, item number 2, a resolution accepting the 2017 San Mateo County Exposition and Fair Association budget presented by the San Mateo County Event Center. Morning.
Good morning. Honorable President Slocum, honorable supervisors. County Manager Maltby, and County Council Byers. I'm Dana Storr, and with me is Tim Smith. We're both the Chief Operating Officers for the Event Center. We would also like to thank our Board of Directors, some of whom are here in the audience today, and our staff for their diligent work over the last few months, improving the property both through increased productivity and accountability. We'd also like to share with you that we hosted our first vision meeting last month, inviting key stakeholders that included Supervisor Carol Groom, San Mateo Mayor Joe Goethals, city staff, local labor representatives, current clients, and neighbors of the Event Center to assist us as we embark on creating a cohesive and attainable vision for the future of the Event Center. And we are pleased to present a short PowerPoint to you highlighting those achievements and our mission. So with that, you see that the Event Center is, and is this the PowerPoint to change it? This is the San Mateo County Event Center as it is today. Our mission is to build a vibrant campus, providing a diverse experience to educate and inspire our community, while showcasing our rich agricultural heritage through the San Mateo County Fair. The board will use creative, innovative, and fiscally responsible stewardship to expand and enhance the physical assets of the Event Center, providing a solid foundation for implementing new concepts and experiences for the community. And we know the future is coming quickly. As you can see, this is the 25th and 28th vision for the Caltrain, which will be directly across from the Event Center. That brings Caltrains, the Hillsdale Station north to a block of the Event Center, which will greatly increase our ability to draw more clients and customers. This is a very interesting picture. The picture on the left is circa 1955, and the picture is split. The picture on the right is split between what the Event Center looks like today and what our neighbors of the South will look like tomorrow. So we clearly are engaging on a process of knowing that we need to reinvent. We are very appreciative of the vision that people had in the past to give us the property, and we want to continue that legacy for the future. We are looking at ways to readapt and reuse what we have, make improvements to the buildings. So I wanted to share with you some of the key staff and board goals for 2017. One is to increase revenues in 2017 for venue sales, fair, parking, and food and beverage operations, implement marketing and branding improvements to increase sales opportunities, host vision meetings which are being scheduled now with key stakeholders, including community groups, neighbors, local labor, and public officials. Update our current economic impact statistics for use in business and community presentations. Implementation of new Event Center capital improvement tracking system to improve our expenditure evaluations and how that happens. And generally, facility landscaping and entry point improvements to improve what the Event Center appears to be to the public. We did a staff evaluation, sort of a SWOT analysis. We'll share some of those results with you. Our strengths, that we provide affordability and value. We host a variety of events. Emerging industries are a great opportunity for the Event Center's growth. We have absolute benefit of having the location between San Francisco and San Jose. We offer a very, very diverse products, not only just for corporate use, but community use as well. We have great weather, as we all know, living in California. And we have we see continued growth in the local entertainment and restaurant and retail. We do have weaknesses, which cannot be ignored. We have aging facilities, lack of funding for capital investment, not enough meeting and ballroom space, a lack of hotels within walkable distance to the Event Center. There are areas of blight on lower 25th to our west. There are perception issues that we need to overcome. We have a lack of marketing the value of the Event Center to a broader community, and we're working on creating that story and telling it to the community and our key stakeholders. But we also have many opportunities. Again, our location, the electrification and Hillsdale Station relocation, the development to our south, market growth in events and catering, market growth in festivals and special events, and our ability to attract larger national, regional trade shows. And again, in the Bay Area, we have the benefit of science and technology industry growth. I'm going to turn it over to our other CEO, Tim Smith, who can run through some of the numbers with you, and he'll take it from here.
Thank you, Dana, and good morning. Just to your left, you can see on our revenues, just to kind of give you a refresher, the bulk of our revenues come from facility rentals, food and beverage, which we're going to be approaching our third full year. As you know, in 2014, we brought our external food and beverage operation in-house, and we're seeing very positive trends in that regard. The Jockey Club, which represents our satellite wagering facility, of course, the San Mateo County Fair, parking, and other income. As you can see out under the 2017 column, we're just about $12.3 million in revenue. And then down below are our operating expenses, which are approximately 11.5. So our gross operating profit, approximately $863,000. These funds will be used to pay a small debt service left on the satellite wagering facility and to fund some of our capital projects. And of course, that's our main cash flow. Our revenues, you'll see, are fairly constant. We do have cyclical events, which you'll see increases from one year to the next. However, we are very optimistic about 2017 as our sales team has been receiving a tremendous amount of opportunities for us that are not necessarily reflected in the budget. So we feel we'll have a very positive 2017. And again, thank you, and we'd be happy to answer any questions if you may have any regarding the budget.
Thank you for the presentation. Comments, questions of board members? Supervisor Fischer.
I'll just make one quick comment. I actually was at the Expo Center this past weekend, and I have to say, you know, as much as we want to improve it, and it obviously needs to, I still have to say you've really maintained it very well for what we're living with. But the Harvest Festival was huge, and it seemed like it was very, very well attended, so. It was one of the best attended Harvest Festival events that they've had in several years. That's done through really creative relationship. That's been a struggling show, so we always look at ways to help our clients. And it's one of the benefits of the event center and our ability to work with clients and find creative ways. It's one of the reasons why we've continued to have a very strong sales program. So thank you, I appreciate it. And I'm sure Nancy Glenn of the Harvest Festival appreciates it as well.
Thank you. Supervisor Grew.
Thank you. I just want to let all of you know that we have got a really dedicated staff at the Event Center. Tim and Dana have made a very good number of changes in the short time that they have been leading the effort. As you know, we appoint the board of directors. It's a hard-working board. They have expertise in a variety of subjects. The board meetings are lively, and lots of creative thinking goes on. And I think we've just really got an excellent team right now that are managing the event center and working very hard to bring bigger and better shows.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Supervisor Pine.
Thank you for your presentation. I know in the past the event center has considered installing solar on its facilities or on its parking lots, and I'm sure you're aware, we've now launched Peninsula Clean Energy, which is bringing clean energy to the county. And when you have the opportunity, I would urge you to meet with Jan Pepper, the CEO, just to talk about whether there's any potential there, particularly as you think about the further development of the space. I remember hearing in the past, and this comes up many times, that sometimes installing solar on older buildings is difficult given the conditions of the roofs, etc. But parking lot solar is something that is often easier. But again, you'd have to integrate it into your overall plan. So I think it'd be time well spent to just have a discussion with Jan Pepper.
Thank you, Supervisor Pine. And we agree, there's never not a reason to try and maximize sustainability to the best degree possible. I mean, I think all of the staff wishes we had LEED certified buildings, but that does not negate in any way our efforts and commitment to creating, being as sustainable and green as we possibly can. And that's a demand we see from our clients as well. So they keep us in check and keep us motivated. So definitely we will reach out to Jan and make sure we make that connection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim and Dana. Yep, thank you. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Second, sorry.
Aye. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to item 43, Mr. Callaghy.
Thank you very much, President Slocum, members of the board, Mr. Maltby, Mr. Byers. Thank you for this quick opportunity to talk about police dispatch consolidation. Whenever government has the opportunity to consolidate by leveraging resources and saving money, it's just plain good government, and the taxpayers are the ones who really benefit. And I'd say that this consolidation is really a shining example of that. It really turned out to be a win-win for Daly City and the county. But it's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of work, and a lot of people need to be involved. And I just wanted to take a moment and recognize some of those people. I'd like to start with by recognizing Supervisor Adrienne Tizier. She played a very important role in this, and really, Supervisor, without your vision, your support, and your ability to bring people together, I honestly don't think that this would have happened. You saw an opportunity for Daly City to save money and really maintain or increase those police dispatch services, and you really worked hard to make that happen. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. I also want to certainly recognize the Daly City Council for their leap of faith and entrusting us with this very important services, and the city manager Pat Martell for all her work on this, and also Chief Manny Martinez is here today with his captain John Gamez. I mean, they did a wonderful job of really getting into the weeds and looking at every element of this and negotiating a terrific contract, I think, that really, again, benefited both sides. So I just wanted to thank them for their vision. Again, not an easy thing to do to give up dispatch, but they did it for all the right reasons to save money for the city and to really increase, hopefully, dispatch services to their citizens. I also want to, really thank our executive team here at the PSC, and Ed Wood, Bob Lottie, Sue Ann Anderson, Jamie Young, Natasha Spinino, and Robert Bastiki, who really handled the technical side of that. It's so difficult to sometimes coordinate all those little technical things that you have to make this work, and they did a wonderful job of really overcoming all those obstacles. And then last but certainly not least, our dispatchers. Supervisor Horsley, as a retired sheriff and a sheriff's deputy, worked a patrol car as well as I did, and he understands how those dispatchers are really your lifeline when you get in foot pursuit or a car pursuit, or when you're at a scene where shots are fired. They're the ones who are on their line, calmly sending resources to you and really handling the situation. They're picking up that phone when people have had their worst day, and they're just so professional and so dedicated. And in this instance, they had to take this on, the dispatching of Daly City, a little earlier than planned, about 6 months earlier at night and on weekends. And I think that they have just done a tremendous job. I know we wanted to have some of the members here today, but duty calls and we couldn't get them up here. But I want them to hear us loud and clear that I admire them so much. They're really the unsung heroes of our public services, safety services, and I just think the world of them. And we're very, very lucky to have them. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you very much. This was a great consolidation.
Thank you, Mr. Callaghy. Are we going to hear from the chief, by the way?
The chief is here.
Standing back there.
The chief is here.
I try to avoid public speaking, if you guys haven't figured that out yet. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody. I think Mike Callaghy did a good job. One of the things when I first came in as a chief of Daly City 7 years ago, the idea was already there to do some kind of consolidation. So it actually took us 7 years to find the actual model that will work. And as we progress in the future, again with Mike, we got a fresh thinker, innovative risk taker, and as we move forward, I think the concept that we want to do is a county JPA with all the major police agencies. I think that's the future we're moving and so forth, right? So again, Mike and I, we were the architects, and the engineers are right here where we're saying they're the ones that put this plan together and made it very successful. So I just want to say thank you very much, for bringing us on as part of your team. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the comments. Supervisor Tissier.
Well, I just want to say, this is, as we talk about some consolidations, this is how we save money for our cities. And in the case of Daly City, they had a measure on the ballot that did not pass recently for police and fire. So without this, I mean, they really would have been in a really some deep water there. So I appreciate the work. Mike was great to work with. We had a lot of meetings with a lot of different council members and things. And it's really, this is what it's all about. It's the things we've done with our sheriff's department as well, where they consolidate with other cities when they need to do certain things together. So thank you, Chief. Thank you, Officer Gamez. I forget your title now. But anyway, thank you all, Captain Gamez, sorry. But thank you for your great work, because it did take a lot of rolling up our sleeves and trying to convince some people that this really is a good thing to do. Because as you know, when we did the sheriff's department, people don't like to give up what they have. And so it was very hard for a lot of them. But at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And that's what seems to be proven on these instances where we do some consolidation. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Supervisor Pine? No?
No, congratulations to Daly City and all the good work that's been done.
Do you need to move the resolution?
Well,
I think
I'm just going to say, I actually started as a Daly City police officer before I was in the sheriff's department, and it's one of the busier police departments in the county. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably the busiest. So it's remarkable that we're able to do this. And as somebody who grew up in Daly City Police, always tried to do whatever I could to help out Daly City, and that's why you have some of those the equipment that we got you out of the Office of Emergency Services. So
Don't give away the secrets, Don.
I'll give a few, but in any case, I just think this is remarkable. I would like to ask a question about our region, our ROC. Could we conceivably handle all police agencies in the county? It seems like that should be something that we incorporate into our plans.
Through the president to Supervisor Horsley, that's correct. It's designed so that it really can have the capacity to provide services to all the county police agencies. And as you know, there's sort of a two-step program. One is actually building the facility, but the second, which is actually as important, if not more so, is the planning for the next generation of emergency dispatch equipment, and that's well underway too. So when we talk about a 21st century operation, that will clearly be a 21st century operation that can serve the entire county going forward.
Just one other shout out to our dispatchers that they not only recognize or know about the hot calls, but they can tell by the officer's voice about the urgency of need for cover. Having sometimes had my own voice crack, when I had to ask it for cover. They read that and they really responded, and I always felt that they were, they protected me and the officers and made sure that we got home safely at night. So I really appreciate the work that they do, and I will conclude with that.
Will you second my motion?
I will second your motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Callaghan. Thank you, Chief. Now, we'll move to item number 5, I believe, which is a Measure A, resolution authorizing ATR, a transfer of money, $250,000. Supervisor Horsley.
Thank you, President Slocum. This is the Mid-Coast Multimodal Trail. It's a bicycle and pedestrian commuter trail that will provide alternate means of transportation for residents of the Mid-Coast. So our residents will be able to safely access neighboring communities, town centers, schools, recreational destinations without having to travel on the highway. It's commonly referred to as the parallel trail and was conceptualized in the community developed Highway 1 Safety and Mobility Improvement Study Phase 1 and Phase 2. It's actually in the Caltrans right-of-way in the unincorporated communities of El Granada, and the project site runs parallel to Cabrillo Highway, otherwise known as Highway 1, and it's between Coronado Street and Murata Road. The project becomes a component of the larger California Coastal Trail, which really is a network of public trails for walkers, bikers, equestrians along the 1,200-mile California coastline. The original grant funds were secured from the San Mateo County Transportation Authority that allowed us to initiate planning for this trail segment. We were able to bring it to the conceptual design was up to 30% level, and the purpose of this Measure A funding is to supplement the remaining design of the multimodal parallel trail segment from 30% to 100%, and
and it includes any associated costs with the Department of Public Works review for the design and engineering, and as well as the permitting process. So I will move to approve that item.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Supervisor Horsley. Now we'll move to item number 6. Do you want to continue on, or?
Well, that's kind of a joint one. That's with Clubhouse, and it is a grant of $30,072, and for the purchase of a 12-person passenger van to support the California Clubhouse program and its members. And Juliana is here with four Clubhouse members as well. Okay, well, whatever. But in any case, this is a relatively new program, and it's a program for people with specific mental health issues, and it's really kind of, I think it's a lifeline for them, and it's had some remarkable successes already and made a significant difference in people's lives. So I'm proud to make that the motion to approve that resolution authorizing the $30,072 for specific Measure A funds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you want
Thank you.
to- is
Yeah,
that
I
the
want,
joint one?
yeah, if I could. And I don't know, Sherry, were you giving me a signal for something?
There's public comment.
Right. Okay, there's public comment. I know. I have the cards right here.
Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to read the mission, if I could, for those that don't know, the mission of the California Clubhouse. Its mission is to give those whose lives have been disrupted by mental illness the opportunity to recover meaningful work and relationships as they reintegrate into the broader community. They empower people who live with mental illness through work, friends, resources, support, and an overarching ethic that focuses on building strengths rather than managing illness. As you all know, we invested in the California Clubhouse a couple of years ago as a mental health startup. I know that we all shared in the excitement of that startup, and since their beginning, you know that they were sharing or had rented a facility at the Cora building on Palm Avenue in San Mateo, and they've since moved to Industrial Road. And some of my staff and I had the occasion the other day, actually a couple months ago, to go there and enjoy a home-cooked barbecue lunch, and we got to sit around a table and talk to members. And the new space is awesome, but what was really great was having a chance to sit and have lunch with the folks that go to the California Clubhouse. This acquisition of this van will help them, I think, grow, as previously they didn't have a way to bring clients or take clients to field trips, and this 12-person passenger van, I think, will help them in their journey forward. So appreciate all the work that California Clubhouse does, and with that, I think we'll do public comment. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So first, let's have Erica Horn, who is the director of the California Clubhouse, and followed by Helen Zimmerman.
Hi. Thank you again, President Slocum and supervisors and County Manager Maltby. I want to thank you so much for your ongoing support. The move was wonderful. We are settling in, and we look forward to hosting each of you for a home-cooked barbecue meal at the clubhouse. But one of the things that we realized quite quickly was the barrier to access not only just the program, but also, as you mentioned, President Slocum, the social and recreational outings that we find to be so supportive as we nurture people back into the workforce, right? You work hard together. got to also have some balance and spend time out in the community, attending festivals and local community events and touring the beautiful surroundings that we have here in San Mateo County. We have pieced together our transportation with members and staff sharing vehicles, running to get people. We are currently over a half mile from the closest bus stop, and so having a vehicle at our disposal will allow us to provide regular transportation on a regular daily basis, but also, and I'm going to give an opportunity for our members who've come today to say a few words, we have members who are slowly returning to the clubhouse but aren't able to access the services as often as they once were, and so this is going to break down those barriers. I'm also excited to announce that we've applied for a Get Healthy San Mateo County grant to really do an active research project where we investigate what are the barriers that exist specifically in the mental health community around transportation. Everywhere we go, every time we present, every time we talk with a community partner, the number one thing that's asked is, well, do you have transportation? Do you have a way to get people around? It's a real barrier, and the barrier that faces the mental health community, I think, is a little different than barriers that face maybe other disability communities. And so we want to investigate that. We want to see what are those barriers, and then as a group come together to identify solutions. And we're proud to announce that Stanford is going to partner with us on this project. So that's exciting. So the van fits perfect timing. But I want to give a chance to some of my colleagues here from California Clubhouse.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm a little shy, sorry. I really like Clubhouse because they support you and they'll always be there when you're having a hard time. And I feel like I've changed a lot and growing up, and I love it. It saved me.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Alexa.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Shepard, and I just recently came back to the clubhouse, and I'm very glad I did. I'll never forget the day I might have died if it weren't for the clubhouse. They had to worm around transportation to get me there so I wouldn't commit suicide. I'll never forget that day in my life, and I'm so thankful to the clubhouse. I know that having a van would really cause a lot less confusion, at the clubhouse if they had a nice van. We have to depend on staff and cars now, and if we had the van, maybe we could go places on weekends, overnight trips, and things like that. I really hope that this is approved, and thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Ray Dandridge. The clubhouse really helped me a lot. Like, before the clubhouse, I was like isolating and like not getting out and stuff. So I was bored and just looking at the walls and stuff and going through hospitals and stuff. So one day I was at Reach and someone said that, Nick, well, we have a place for you to go to have activities. And I said, really? And they said the clubhouse down the street. And I said, oh, okay. Because they didn't want me wandering around in the Reach Center, yeah. So I came to the clubhouse down the street, and I said, Mom, look at this. This is a lonely place right here. Maybe I'll check this out. And someone came out. I knocked on the door and rang the bell. And it was a nice, peaceful guy named John came out. He said, hi. I said, hi, my name is Nick. And he said, oh, you're John? No, come in. And he welcomed me in. I joined lunch with him that day, and it was fun. I wanted to go back because I was already having fun on the first day because I felt welcome. It was like warmth feeling, and then I started coming every day to the clubhouse, and then I started helping out the kitchen, cooking food and stuff in the kitchen, vacuuming the floors and stuff. Yeah, and I started helping out a lot, and I kind of wanted more people to come because, like, my age, like, and stuff, and I got along with the other people too. So everybody's welcome as long as cool with me, and people start coming more, like, every week, and I was getting used to it. And first, I thought it was going to be crowded, but then I said, well, I just have to look on the bright side. And I met a lot of people in the clubhouse, and everybody's great. I love everybody in the clubhouse. That's the kind of person I am. I love everybody in the world. So I'm a nice person. So, and everybody was nice to me. So it was. And then the clubhouse, I'm gonna start coming back. I haven't been in a while since the new clubhouse here in San Carlos, but I'll be coming back. I'm coming back. Nick is back, and all right, thanks.
Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you.
Let me introduce, if I could, before Helen gets to the podium there, Lori and Juliana, who are both deeply involved with the California Clubhouse. And thank you both for all of your work and for bringing these lovely people here today. And Erica, congratulations on all your achievements. Thank you. Helen.
Okay. Good morning. President Slocum, Honorable Supervisors, Mr. Maltby, County Council Byers. Hello. I'd like to, first of all, congratulate you and thank you for all of the support of mental health initiatives that you do within the county, both for Clubhouse and all the other organizations you support. I'd like to bring to your attention that in addition to providing support, education, and advocacy that NAMI provides here in the county, we also provide warm line support, which is now up almost 50% by the end of the year, to both family members and individuals with mental health diagnoses in the county. Through these calls, we refer Clubhouse and Heart and Soul on an ongoing basis. These are calls we receive from both family members and individuals. And additionally, some of our members and their members, we visit and we engage in each other's activities. And so they engage in our programs, some take leadership roles, and some of them take our trainings. So we are, while very independent, we are also very much integrated, to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move to item number 7, which is a resolution regarding district-specific Measure A funds to Citizens for Safety. Supervisor Adrienne Tissier.
Thank you, Chair Slocum. This program is a partnership with a group called Lipstick, which is ladies involved. You always want to laugh at me. Ladies involved in putting a stop to inner city killings. And basically what the partnership is about is it's designed to support local community-based nonprofits to implement the Lipstick program and reduce the willingness of women and girls to straw purchase, hide, or carry guns for people who can't pass criminal background checks. So what we're hoping to do is increase the awareness of the risks and the consequences of straw purchasing and other illegal activities involving guns. And we're looking to educate, train, and support local women leaders who can spread the word, and also to convert former straw buyers into spokespeople, leaders, and mentors. We're also going to try to leverage the Lipstick campaign to meet violence prevention goals. So we are funding it for the first 2 years. I want to give a shout out to Melissa Wagner. She is going to help us from the Sheriff's Department to come up with more of the scope and the outcomes and how we want to measure the program's effectiveness. But we did want to introduce this. We don't have a huge problem like they have in some areas back east where this started, but we do know that the problem exists because through doing some surveys with those at Hope House and others, they have indicated that they've either held guns for felons or they know people that have. So we know it exists. We don't know how big, but that's what we're hoping to measure, but at least educate young people, young girls and women, that, you know, there are consequences if something happens with that gun that you purchased for somebody else. So anyway, the first year or two is really going to involve a lot of education and outreach and hopefully be able to measure some of the effectiveness as well. So I'd like to make a motion to provide these funds for Citizens for Safety.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Do we need to do a separate item B there, or is that?
I assume Supervisor Tissier, that your motion include A and B?
Right.
Is that correct? Okay.
Thank you. Just making sure. So that takes care of item 7. And now let's move back to our 9 o'clock item, which is department performance reports. And we start with first 5, which is an information only segment. Kitty Lopez, Executive Director.
Thank you. Good morning, President Slocum, members of the board, Mr. Maltby, and Mr. Byers. I am Kitty Lopez, Executive Director of First 5, and I was delighted this morning when I saw the agenda that First 5 is listed under Prosperous Community, with more stories like that lovely Ortiz family and children having a loving, caring home, and parents and caregivers. We will indeed continue to have a prosperous community. Each year, I come before you and share with you some of the things that are going on at First 5. I'm excited about some of the projects that we are working on and wanted to share those with you today. For those of you who may not know, again, First 5, our vision is success for every child, and we do that by promoting outcomes, positive outcomes for young children and their families through our investments that we make in the community, our leadership and effective partnerships. If you remember back in 1998, California voters passed Proposition 10, which put a 50-cent tax on all tobacco products. And then those monies come back to each county in the state based on the number of births in the county. And those dollars are supposed to support health, early learning, family engagement, and larger systems building work for young children 0 to 5 and their families. We established our commission in 1999, and we have 9 commissioners. Supervisor Pine sits on our commission along with 3 others that you, as the Board of Supervisors, appoint, and we have 5 other community members that also sit on that commission. The other thing I wanted to just note, Proposition 10 states in the statute that it is our responsibility and part of our work to work on the systems level work. Yes, we do direct funding for community-based organizations, but it is part of our goal and mission that we create collaborative systems for children and their families, and that young kids and families have access to those systems, and that we have local decision-making and flexibility in our county, which we do, and eliminating duplication whenever possible. So that is part of our work, that system-building work. Our desired outcomes are before you. We established this when we did our new strategic plan back in 2014 and 15. And our first priority really is to make sure that young children and their families are part of our decision-making that we do in San Mateo County. And it's a very fortunate thing we are in San Mateo, because that happens already in our collaboration that we do all the time and every day. But it is also part of our outcomes that kids have safe and healthy environments, that they have access to early care and education, that their families feel connected to the community, that kids have healthy attachments to their parents and their caregivers, and they have access to appropriate health care. All First Fives have these 5 focus areas, or 4 focus areas: family engagement, early learning, child health and development, and then the policy, advocacy, communication, research and evaluation, all the systems that work on behalf of young children. These next few slides are part of our annual report that we do to the First Five California, to our state First Five. And this is the number of clients served. We had 10,344. If you include the kits for new parents, which some of you may have seen, they're in hospitals and other community-based organizations, that takes that total up to a little over 14,000. 46% of the clients over the last year, 15-16, were children. 54% were adults, either parents or caregivers or providers of direct service. For the last year, our total expenditures, a little over $6 million. You'll see in this report that some of the a few of the categories are a little different than how we talk about First Five. Family functioning is our family engagement work, family support work, and the child development is our early learning efforts. But these are the categories that First Five California and the state use. The dollar amount this year is a little bit lower. You know, we've been rolling out our funding and strategies over the last couple of years. So we started our 3-year funding cycle in 2015. So last year there was a lot more direct service dollars going out the door. We're rolling out some of those direct service dollars, as well as more partnership and policy work. Some examples of this year: we have a terrific partnership with the Daly City Partnership and Faith in Action. It's a project to help train parents to be advocates and leaders in their own community, in the Daly City community. We also have another grant and partnership with our County Office of Ed to support the providers of family engagement work, to really strengthen their professional development skills. So those are a couple of examples of programs that we started. This is another breakdown per those focus areas and the kits for new parents, where you can see the number of providers and children 3 to 5, children under 3 in each of those focus areas. And of course the kits go for all children. Family demographics. Most of our clients are Hispanic and Latino. There's a little discrepancy, like in the Asian, if you compare First Five San Mateo County with San Mateo County numbers, that's a little bit underrepresented. And in the Latino category, that's a little bit overrepresented. We are undergoing a massive data collection transformation. We've been one of the few First Fives that still is using stones and tablets and paper and pencil to do data collection, but we are moving towards having that automated. Most First Fives already do, so many of you understand that that's a huge, huge endeavor. So I think we'll be able to collect more accurate demographics once we have that in place in the next year. Some of the initiatives that we're working on this year I wanted to highlight. That first one, the Big Data Project, it's a pilot in Redwood City, and President Slocum helped us kick that project off at the end of October. It's a partnership we have with the Gardner Center, First Five, the Bella Vista Foundation, and a number of community-based organizations, our health system, our education system, probation. It's a project to really try to link the administrative data in all of those systems, primarily looking at 0 to 3 population, to see and understand what services young family and children are getting. What does that tell us in terms of positive outcomes for children? What are some gaps? And how do we then promote more positive outcomes for those families and kids? We're piloting in Redwood City, and hopefully that will expand to other cities along the peninsula. Our early learning facilities needs assessment. I know you've seen the op-ed that Supervisor Pine and I wrote in the Daily Journal back in September on the early learning and childcare shortages. There's over 10,000 spaces needed in the county. Only 32% of that demand is not being met. So we're working on establishing how much money that is going to cost and how do we take that forward. We have a number of other surveys we're doing on developmental screenings, technology, and how parents and teachers are using that. The oral health strategic plan, Supervisor Pine, I know, is involved with that. We launched that at the end of September to really address the oral health needs of families, and of course, in our case, particularly 0 to 5. And we are helping, First Five is helping to fund 2 new positions at the health system towards meeting oral health needs. And I mentioned our new grants, our grants management implementation and communication and implementation plan. I wanted to share a little bit again about our involvements in the Big Lift, and the Big Lift is certainly a huge initiative in our county. And this slide hopefully shows the intersection of what we're doing. There we go. In First Five World, countywide, whole child, whole family, looking at a number of issues and how that intersects with what the Big Lift is doing. And our investment over the whole 3-year period of 2015 to 18 is over $6 million in early learning in our county, of which $4.8 million is going towards the Big Lift and supporting those efforts. And you know, if I can have a second, I would love to read this quote from one of the parents that sent in an email about the Big Lift. And I didn't have time to include it on here, but it's just a delightful reminder of why we're doing this work and involved in this. I just wanted to personally thank you for this wonderful program. We are a family of 4 that lives in Daly City, and it is expensive in this area. Without the Big Lift, my 4-year-old daughter, Jolie, would not have gone to preschool. We barely qualified for this program, even though we can hardly afford to live here. I am tearing up because I feel we are so blessed to have this opportunity. My husband and I stress about how can we afford our children's education, keep a roof over our heads, and put food on the table. My outgoing and happy daughter absolutely loves going to school, and it makes my day to hear everything she's learned every day. I look forward to hearing her daily adventures after my long days at work. She even wants to go to school on the weekends. Now that's something. I will fully support those who back this program with open arms. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So it's always nice for you to hear that. I was delighted, and I think sent this around to all of my colleagues. It was great to hear that little note from a parent. Over the last 18 years, we've invested over $137 million in our county. We're very proud of that and proud to be a part of this county in our collaborative efforts. Our challenges remain where our revenue is declining because people are smoking less, and that's a really great thing. But you know, first $5 were really, even back in 1998, never intended to meet all of the needs of young children and their families. We can't do that alone. We need the partnerships that we have and are forging in our county. All First Fives, including our own, are focusing more on strategic and systemic investments, as well as some direct service dollars, but we just won't have enough of that money. But we still have an important role to play in our county. And First Five is working on directing those resources towards building even more community partnerships, policy development, and leadership on issues that exist for young children and their families. The tax revenue we get is about $5 to $6 million a year. So we estimate that by 2021, we will be able to spend only as much as we get. Here's just a budget overview of our actual revenue and fund balance over expenditures, program, and administration, and then 2016-17, our recommended adopted budget, which includes the fund balance. Now, some of the recent legislation that's happened with the increase in smoking age to 21, that decreases our revenue even more. That's about a $355,000 hit to the budget, our own budget. the passage of Proposition 56, which was a tax on cigarettes and e-cigarettes and an increased tax. We only get the e-cigarettes. That's an additional estimate of $400,000. Again, these are estimates. We'll have to see what the actual dollars show. So it may be a net change of $100,000 to our budget. We know in San Mateo County, our children are our future. I had this slide last year. I'm keeping it up because I think it's a good one. And I just also want to end with a quote that I saw yesterday in a Thanksgiving card. It's a quote from the 35th president of our country, John F. Kennedy, who said, "Children are the living messages we send to a time we will not see." And I know in our county, those messages will be thriving and prosperous. So thank you, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions or comments.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Questions or comments? I understand that Supervisor Pine spoke in Sacramento.
He did
recently.
indeed. He did indeed.
And at the California First Five, maybe you'd like to share a few observations.
Well, first, I really want to thank Kitty for her leadership of First Five. It's a difficult process to kind of transform the mission of any organization. And, when you look back historically at First Five, it had a heavy focus on really being like a small foundation in making grants. But as Kitty has explained, with the declining revenue, it needs to and is shifting into more partnerships, policy advocacy, system change. And so I think First Five has been a good partner with the Big Lift and its work on facilities for early care, the dental initiative, and others, are kind of a taste of, how First Five will be operating in the future. So again, it's a big mission change, and I think Kitty has been steering that well. So both Kitty and I were at the statewide First Five conference, and I did sit on a panel where, others from the First Five community around the state, were thinking about this big issue of the declining revenue and what's the role of First Fives going forward.
He was a terrific representative of our county and First Five, and there was a question that was asked, well, how should we be moving forward? And of course, Supervisor Pine said we should be bold, and I forget the other adjectives he used, but
big, brash, boisterous.
Yes, in the needs of young children.
That's Dave. All right.
Supervisor Tissier?
No, I was just looking at this picture on the left here. That was me when I was younger.
Yeah.
Thinking cap.
Any other comments,
No,
questions?
just that letter from that parent is very moving, and I think that I was on the First Five Commission for a period of time, and you really have done a remarkable job, and so congratulations. It's a great report, and those kids with the thinking caps, that is really...
We're going to need those kids for the future.
Yeah, really, thanks. So thanks for your work, and thanks for all that you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I see there's a staff person from Mid-Penn, Felix? Your item is passed, 34, so it's on the consent agenda, so you can go home. You don't have to, though. You can stay here all day if you want.
Thank you, Supervisor Horsley. Move now to item B there,
We try to get an audience and he sends them away.
All right. Item B, which is, and the first to report under Healthy and Safe Community, is Sheriff Carlos Bolanos to talk about Office of Emergency Services. Sheriff.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, President Slocum, honorable members of the board, Mr. Malpe, Mr. Byers. It's my pleasure to be here today as I look forward to presenting the Sheriff's Office Performance Report. Our mission statement is right there. We're committed to providing professional law enforcement services in a humane and cost-efficient manner while supporting positive development within our communities and our youth population. On clearance rates, our annual clearance rates of violent crimes was 52%, which exceeded our target of 50%. Measuring the percent of crimes cleared is an indicator of investigative effectiveness. Average clearance rates in California typically fall within the 40 to 50% range. And we expect that with the growing use of technology and intelligence-led policing, it will further aid us in increasing the clearance rates in this area. In fiscal year 2015-16, there were 217 positive associations or matches identified via CODIS, which is DNA, APHIS, fingerprints, and NIBIN databases. NIBIN is ballistics. These criminal justice information databases have led to significant advances in our ability to match crime scene evidence with potentially involved parties and have proven invaluable in aiding in the investigation and prosecution of crimes. In fiscal year 2015-2016, the percent of sentenced inmates working with an in-custody case manager was 67%, exceeding our target of 60%. In-custody case managers interact with inmates by assessing their risk to reoffend, their particular areas of need, and the appropriate programs and services to best address those needs. They also work collaboratively with county professionals to provide a continuum of care for inmates to assist in their reentry into our communities. The dollar value saved by our use of volunteers exceeded our target and totaled just over $795,000. The use of volunteers by the Sheriff's Office continues to grow. More than 500 dedicated volunteers provide a variety of valuable services and support to the community, including service in the Deputy Sheriff Reserves, as well as in search and rescue, radio operations, and the Mounted Patrol. A recent example of this is Portola Valley was having a series of serious crimes. We were able to put out our volunteers in policing, who are uniformed volunteers in an old patrol car, who go out and are our eyes and ears out there with the community, interacting with our sworn law enforcement forces. In fiscal year 15-16, 72% of our new hires were minority and or female, exceeding our target of 50%. Recruitment efforts have focused on improving the selection and background process, as well as onboarding and training to ensure that our new hires have all of the tools they need to be successful. Hiring is just the first step. Integrating them into the organization, making sure they pass all the training is as important. The percent of our employees rating experience working for the county as good or better is 77%, and just slightly below the target of 79%. The data reflects changes in the methodology used for gauging employee satisfaction, and the figure of 77% represents an aggregate of favorable responses. Very telling for us is that 90% of our staff indicate they are proud to work for the Sheriff's Office. 86% indicate that their work is more than just a job, and 92% stated that they like the work that they do. Highlights. Of course, we completed construction of our Maple Street Correctional Center. There are amazing things occurring there on a daily basis. I know all of you have been there many times, but I encourage those of you who haven't been there for a while to contact me, and we'll arrange a tour so you can see what's happening in regards to expanded inmate opportunities for education, vocational training, substance abuse treatment, and relationship counseling. We also successfully maintained law enforcement service agreements in 8 communities, and we deployed in-car computer video cameras in our patrol vehicles to record traffic stops and other encounters. This equipment serves to build public trust and provides an unbiased account of events. As all of you know, we are in the process of constructing our new Coyote Point firing range. Private donations will support construction of the facility used by both the public and numerous law enforcement agencies. And we have transitioned, but we're still in the process of transitioning our correctional food service operations from the health department to the sheriff's office. This change will enable the sheriff's office to provide supervision to inmate food service workers and to optimize the security of the food service operation. And of course, we will continue to invest in San Mateo County's youth through a variety of sports, mentoring, dance, healthy living, and character development programs. These activities are designed to foster positive relationships between law enforcement and the youth, families, and communities that we serve. Sheriff's Activities League, or SAL, offers a number of highly successful programs such as team sports, the diversion program, empowering young women out on the coast, the literacy program, and our anti-bullying program. Measure A funds allocated to the Human Trafficking Commercially Exploited Children Program and totaling $232,000 are being directed to support the following activities: increasing awareness about human trafficking at public events, colleges, conferences, and through social media and marketing efforts; aligning law enforcement resources through cooperative efforts among the San Mateo County Police Chiefs and Sheriff Association; and working with community-based organizations and the faith-based community to create wraparound services for victims. As you know, Mike Brosnan, retired from South City, is our coordinator and is just doing an amazing job for us. Measure A funds totaling $498,000 have also been directed to providing enhanced school safety services through the School Resource Officer Program. This program works to create and maintain a safe learning environment. 2 deputy sheriffs provided enhanced school safety services by building trust with students through educational, recreational, and school safety programs, and providing an on-campus presence and spending an average of 33 hours per week in 56 schools, by assisting school administrators in preparing school safety plans, and by working with parents and CBOs, community-based organizations, to provide education on crime, drug use, and safety. The following represents our major goals for fiscal year 17-19. Maintain our strong community engagement and programs such as the Sheriff's Activities League, School Resource Officer Program, and the Community Alliance to Revitalize Our Neighborhood Program, otherwise known as CARON. To continue to provide leadership to our intelligence-led policing efforts to ensure that we address crime trends immediately and use our resources efficiently. To increase our crisis intervention team training, along with our use of PERT, in order to keep our residents and law enforcement personnel safe. PERT is our psychiatric emergency response team. One deputy sheriff, one clinical technician from the health department work together out in the field, addressing folks that have are engaging in a mental health crisis, and addressing their issues in a way that hopefully steers them away from incarceration and to treatment. And we want to ensure that we continue to prepare our incarcerated population with the tools to successfully return to our communities through progressive inmate programs. Some of these programs include our culinary program, anger management, the TAILS program, which is our little puppies in the jail program, Enneagram Prison Project, which is a self-awareness training, Choices program, and domestic violence programs. Some of the challenges we have identified in fiscal year 17-19 include providing in-custody programs to inmates and ensuring that inmates who receive shorter sentences as a result of recent propositions can still benefit from our in-custody programs and services regardless of their length of stay. We want to remain diligent in the identification, mitigation, deterrence, and prevention of security threats in order to protect San Mateo County residents and employees. And finally, effectively implementing emerging technology to reduce criminal activity. I'm confident that our office can meet these challenges as we continue in our efforts to build public trust, engage our community, and provide opportunities for incarcerated persons to improve their lives. This concludes my presentation. I'd like to thank the board and the county manager's office for their support and commitment to public safety. I'd also like to thank the outstanding men and women of the sheriff's office who serve our communities and work to ensure that our county remains as one of the safest in the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Questions for the sheriff, comments?
I just have a quick comment. First off, I want to thank you for the participation of the Sheriff's Department and the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities, because you mentioned about security threats and just threats in general, and that's the next step we're taking under the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities, which is a huge piece that needs to be undertaken. I know the Sheriff's Department will play a major role in that. And the other thing I just want to comment, when the sheriff had indicated, feel free to come over and take a tour, you really should. I was over there 2 weeks ago or so. It's one thing to see the brick and mortar. It's another thing to see the programming, and all the classes were full. There's lots going on, and it was really great. Computers, brand new computers. They're all on computers and doing things. It was really refreshing to see that all that we talked about actually is happening, versus just having a very nice looking jail with open, airy spaces. It really is very impressive, the work that's being done. And I know that's a tribute to the Sheriff's Department and Melissa Wagner and all. They're really doing some incredible programming there for these inmates. And they also had said since April, they've had 20 of the men graduate from the GED program.
Wow.
And that's huge. That's huge. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Supervisor Pine.
Thank you for the presentation. I definitely very much want to compliment you on the recent hiring of the 72% women and or minority. That's really remarkable. I mean, I think we've learned from around the nation that there's incredible benefits of having a diverse law enforcement. And then your ongoing work with mental health, with CIT and PERT, is so important because, as we all know, that intersection between mental health and criminal matters is unfortunately really high, and you folks are left with you're on the front lines for dealing with many of our folks who struggle with that. Although again, we're doing better than most counties with our service we've heard today with Clubhouse. So I just had 2 questions. You mentioned that in custody case managers are at 67%. So what's the barriers? What are the barriers to having 100%? So everyone would have an in-custody case manager.
I think I'd ask Melissa to come up and answer that question for you.
Good morning. The 67% doesn't represent a barrier as much as we had to move into the new jail to launch the full case management. And in August, we brought on the final case manager. So we anticipate that now that we're in the new jail and our team is fully hired, that we will see that number increase.
Do you have is it realistic to have every person have a case manager, or some are in such a short time that doesn't work? Or
Well, we're working with the county manager's office right now in a lean process to see what our capacity is, not just for the sheriff's office, but for our partners in correctional health and probation and health and HSA through Service Connect to see how many can go through the system with full services. As you know, many people will be sentenced and go to CDCR, so we're looking at the transaction line data to see what that would look like.
Just to underscore that, but certainly the percentage is higher than 67, but it's never going to be 100% for a variety of reasons. And I think the department is really focused on helping the people that they could really help and make a difference in their lives and have some time to work with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then my other, question for Sheriff Bolanos is, across the nation, there's a lot of discussion about body cameras, and South San Francisco PD is going to come to their, not sure what they're going to recommend, but they're coming to their council to discuss that. And so I'd be interested, in what your current thoughts are on that, and whether it might make sense for if the board was interested at some point in the future to have a presentation about that.
Thank you. Excellent question. And we are just started a committee to look at the body camera issue. I am in support of body cameras to continue to build public trust and accountability. For us, it's a more expensive proposition because that would also include in the correctional environment. We have an outstanding camera system inside, but I believe that putting a body camera on every one of our enforcement personnel goes a long ways in giving us a true picture of what occurs, hopefully deterring any activity, and most importantly, continuing to build that public trust.
Mm-hmm.
So I am supportive of it. It will be I think at the end of the day, will be a financial decision. We are looking at what the best technology is that's out there that also will work in partnership with our in-car video system. That's important.
So you mentioned there's a committee looking at it, and again, if anyone has any objection, when you're ready, it'd be, I think it'd be great to bring it back to the board and kind of hear more of the details. And it will be a resource question, and obviously resource questions are always something that that's our job is figuring out how to allocate resources.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Horsley or Supervisor
Well, just talking about resources, when you and I were at that farmer's market, you ran out of teddy bears, so if you need any money for teddy bears, let me know. I'll be glad to catch you.
Those teddy bears are much more expensive than you think.
Be a measure A allocation. Right? I do want to really commend the department on Moon Ridge. We had it was a sort of an incident that occurred a couple of years back, and so I took a group of people on a tour of, they wanted to see facilities for farm labor workers, and that was one of the ones that we took them to. And in any case, they asked, because of that incident that happened 2 years ago, asked, what's the relationship between the sheriff's department? And they said, the people universally said, the sheriff's department is extremely supportive, the deputies do a great job. We have absolutely no issues. We feel very safe, very cared for, very protected, very respected. And I think that's really a tribute to your entire department.
Thank you.
It could have been otherwise, but you guys have done a great job. And it's really gratifying to see the growth in the department, and especially on the corrections end. Because as we all know, that 90% of those people are going to come back home, and home is San Mateo County. It's not someplace else. It's going to come home. So if you can make changes in their lives, you're going to actually help them in their lives. And because, we talk about kids, and it's going to impact their kids, it makes our community safer. In the long run, it's we all benefit. So thanks for the great work that you and the entire department do.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you. Supervisor Groom, anything?
I'm just very impressed with everything that happens in the correctional facility, as well as your commitment to children and the SAL program and all the other things that you do, Sheriff. We can't give enough resources to our children.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you for the report, Sheriff Bolanos. I wanted to just sort of echo what Supervisor Horsley said, but direct it to the North Fair Oaks community. And from everybody that I've talked to, they really appreciate the changes that you've made there due to promotions and that sort of thing. But is it Christina?
It is.
Christina has done a marvelous job there reaching out into the community. And I think in the long run, that community policing and having Latinos in that area will be a significant benefit to the residents of North Fair Oaks. So I wanted to thank you and your team for that.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to number 2, which is Public Safety Communications. Sue Anderson.
Good morning, President Slocum, members of the board, Mr. Moppy and Mr. Byers. I am Sue Anderson, one of the Assistant Directors for Public Safety Communications. And on behalf of Director Ed Wood and Jamie Young and our co-directors, Bob Lottie and Dan Belville, I'm pleased to present Public Safety Communications Performance Report. Technology is not usually my friend, so. Our mission statement, the San Mateo County Office of Public Safety Communications is dedicated to providing excellent police, fire, and medical emergency dispatch and communication services. We do this by forming collaborative partnerships, ensuring quality, and upholding the values of our organization. As the initial first responder, we act quickly and decisively in order to achieve safety and quality of life for those we serve. Our first performance report is customer satisfaction rating of good or better. We took a little dip this past year, I think partially due to a little loss of admin support in getting some of the surveys out. And then this is also going to be a measure for us moving forward in trying to improve this process, as a lot of the responses that we're getting back, they're actually not directed at the dispatch services, they're directed at field services. So we're trying to figure out how we create, as you'll see when we get to some of the goals for the upcoming year, we're looking at automating it as well, making it more of a web-based process, but trying to really emphasize how we get the dispatcher feedback versus just the first responders. Very often when we get back, that they don't remember the dispatch process, but they remember, you know, a fire engine arriving or a police officer arriving. So we are currently working on that process today. Our next is percentage of employees rating San Mateo County good or better. I think we had heard in some of the previous presentations, our 15-16 took a little bit of a drop that we are somewhat attributing to, this is the first year of that third-party vendor that did the survey process. We worked with Human Resources after we got our results back, and that's kind of the best thing that we could come out of that process, looking at how we've scoped up and then we scoped down. We also had a change in leadership, which also brought some different accountability to the organization. So sometimes that's not necessarily considered a good thing in the short process, but a great thing in the long-term process. So we're very anxiously looking forward to the latest results that should be coming out momentarily. The cost per capita countywide, you can see is 15.23, which is a little bit over what the target is. It's difficult for public safety communications to compare itself to the other counties. We are actually only one of 4 dispatch centers in the county that are consolidated that provide both all 3 functions of fire, EMS, and law enforcement. So comparing those, so Marin, San Francisco, and Santa Clara are our comparators. Percentage of employee evaluations completed. We're very happy to say that we are up to 95% in employee evaluations. It's been a number 1 agenda on ours to get all of our employees up to current evaluations, and we should actually be at 100% within the next couple of months. So that is something that we are very proud of. 2015-17 highlights for our center. Public Safety Communications reaccredited for the 3rd time as a Center of Excellence, an accredited Center of Excellence for our emergency medical dispatch. Where that becomes really significant, if you look at the numbers that go along with that, is there's probably over 3,500 dispatch centers worldwide that are using the emergency medical dispatch protocol system that we use. And out of those 3,500, there's only 153 centers worldwide that actually have achieved this accredited Center of Excellence. And we are one of 16 in the state of California. When we first accredited back in 2005, we were one of 9. So there's actually more in the state of California, which is awesome to see. highlight, the next highlight you've heard throughout the day of our presentation from Mr. Callaghy is the successful negotiations with the City of Daly City for bringing on the law enforcement dispatch services to our center. And again, we've been doing it on a part-time basis since July, which in the long run, I think has been a really good thing. We've been able to iron out some bugs that we had in the team transition. And we believe that, there'll be a complete smooth transition January 1st. Natasha's going to see to that New Year's Eve, we will be taking them on full time. So we will see how that goes. And with that contract, we also increased our dispatch staff by 6 new positions. We've had a successful recruitment of 12 new dispatchers in this budget cycle. And we are in phase 1 completion of our policy and procedure manual update, which was in dire need of update. And phase 2 should be completed by the end of December. Our 17-19 goals are to evaluate and develop an organizational structure for the future. With Next Generation 911 coming on, there's a lot of things to start looking at. We're developing a succession plan which meets the needs of the organization. We're working on enhanced training plans to meet all of that. And as I said previously about our customer service feedback, we really want to do it a web-based process, so we're putting some efforts towards that. We want to continue with employee recognition and engagement, and also complete the purchase and outfitting of 2 incident dispatch vehicles. Our challenges for the upcoming budget is to continue our efforts to transition public safety communications, working in conjunction with the Sheriff's Office, to the new Regional Operations Center that we've heard about earlier. First and foremost, thank you very much for allowing the building to be built for that purpose. Continue our efforts to transition public safety communications to a new computer-aided dispatch system that will go into after we move into the new building. Succession planning and training in preparation for vacancies and pending retirements. Public safety communications has never really faced it, but is starting to face the longevity of some of our employees, and we're actually being phasing in retirements for the first time in really my career. We're going to work on continuing efforts to keep our equipment and facilities in working order until we can make the transition to the new building. So I'd like to thank the board and most importantly the dispatch staff that really wanted to be here today, but were unable to do so. They do an awesome job down there, and without them we wouldn't be where we would be. So any comments, questions?
Comments, questions?
Just a question. The Daly City had 11 dispatchers and it went down to 6. Did we hire all of them or not?
2 of Daly City dispatchers decided to come over. So they should, to join PS, just 2 of the 11.
Okay.
Some went to other agencies, and 2 of them should be starting somewhere around the first of the year.
How are you able to do it with I know with the new building you'll be able to do this, but I know how cramped you are down in the basement. How are you? It's remarkable that you're able to accommodate that, but how did we do that?
It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. It's the best way I can describe it. We're doing some shifting. I mean, we did have a little bit of capacity from our call taker section, but we are able to make it work.
Okay.
It is tight, but
I bet it is tight. Okay. But thanks for the report. I think the dispatchers, as you probably heard me earlier talking about, they really are the lifeline for deputies and police officers, and you guys especially. I've always thought were the best in the county, and always done a remarkable job. So thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Pass that
report.
along.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We're going to take a 5-minute break here to reload the camera, and we'll be back at 1:45. Okay, so we're reconvened. We're on item C, collaborative community. And the first performance report will be Assessor County Clerk Recorder, Mark Church, and Chief Elections Officer. I forgot that part. Mr. Church.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Maltby, and Mr. Byers, who was here a minute ago. Thank you for the opportunity to present our performance measures and some of the highlights, goals, and challenges for the Office of Assessor County Clerk Recorder. Our mission statement provides a good overview of what we do. We are here to serve the people. Our motto, people first, reflects that philosophy. We strive to provide a quality service, and we are constantly looking for ways to improve operations and efficiencies. Some of the highlights in the Assessor's Division this past year include the timely closing of the assessment roll. The roll value is now the 9th largest of all 58 counties in the state and will generate approximately $420 million to the county, an increase of approximately $30 million over last year. We are experiencing a commercial property development boom, the likes of which we haven't seen for some time. And thanks to the board's approval last year of 3 full-time additional appraisers and some additional funding, we were able to value almost 2 million square feet of completed projects and approximately 11 million square feet under construction. We preserved almost $3 billion of roll value that was at risk before the Assessment Appeals Board. We reduced the appeals backlog by 33%, bringing the total number of appeals down from almost 2,700 to 1,800. We reduced the decline in value backlog by 47%, bringing the number of properties in the program down from 17,000 to 9,000, which restored over $1 billion in assessed value to the roll. And in one of the largest technology initiatives undertaken by the department, staff contributed almost 3,000 hours to the development of our ATS RFP, and we conducted 7 recruitments. 17 appointments were made, and 9 positions were underfilled. The division presently has 2 full-time vacancies, which we are in the process of filling, and we've also implemented a comprehensive training program, and staff received over 2,000 hours of training for fiscal year 15 and 16. In elections, we conducted 3 elections, including the June 7th presidential primary. One of the most notable accomplishments last year was the successful administration of the November 3, 2015 all-mailed ballot election. San Mateo County became the first county in the state to conduct a local consolidated election wholly by mail. The election resulted in increased voter turnout, a decrease in costs to jurisdictions, improved efficiencies, and early results on election night. And we implemented one of the state's first remote accessible sample ballot systems for visually impaired voters, and we also redesigned the division's website to be compatible with mobile devices. We staffed the Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee, and they continue to be a valuable resource in our effort to improve election services for persons with disabilities and the elderly. We opened a North County Voting Center in South San Francisco to serve the voters in the north end of the county. During this past presidential election, the voting center was used extensively and appreciated by the voters. We conducted voter outreach by actively participating in numerous community events and effectively utilizing social media tools. And we also produced a number of informational videos for internal training and voter outreach and education. In the Clerk Recorder Division, we implemented several core operating system technology upgrades, which helped to improve operating efficiencies and the distribution of data and information. We implemented more user-friendly features on our public records terminal, which make it easier for the public to retrieve documents. The public can now submit online requests for records, which saves staff time and reduces our carbon footprint. And we are one of the few walk-in passport processing facilities in the Bay Area. And at almost 4,500 applications, we have experienced a 775% increase over the last 2 fiscal years. In the administration support and support division, we partnered with the other fiscal departments to develop an RFP for a new integrated assessment property tax system. Our evaluation of the responses revealed that there are no qualified vendors. As a result, we are now developing an RFP for a property assessment system only for the assessor's office. And in the meantime, our staff is analyzing and developing interim solutions until a new system is developed. Our IT unit has played a major role in the development of the county's GIS 5-year plan. The assessor's parcel layer, which is 17 years old and is in poor condition, is the foundation layer of the countywide GIS. We have released our RFP to update and modernize the assessor's parcel layer, the tax rate area, and the election precinct layers, and we are now evaluating the responses. In order to provide a more interactive website for our constituents to obtain information, forms, and data, we released our RFP to redesign our website, and we are in the process of selecting a vendor. And thanks to the board's approval this past year of 3 term department system analysts, we were able to move our technology initiatives forward, such as ATS GIS and our website redesign. And we organized and hosted a successful 2015 annual conference for the California Assessors Association, which was well received by the assessors and staff throughout the state. In the upcoming 2-year budget cycle, we have set our priorities to accomplish the following goals: value approximately 2 million square feet of completed new construction and 14 million square feet of partial construction annually, address the replacement of our aging technology and legacy systems, including the assessor property assessment system, GIS, our voting system, and redesign our website, develop a department-specific continuity of operations plan and return to operations plan in coordination with the countywide disaster preparedness effort, develop a specific design and site plan for our new election headquarters and county clerk storage facilities at the Tower Road site, and preserve, digitize, and protect the county's historical documents. In the upcoming 2-year budget cycle, we will face the following challenges: the increasingly diverse and complex nature of assessments, as seen in new generation campus developments such as Facebook, Google, and Gilead, together with large-scale mixed-use facilities and highly specialized skilled nursing facilities, is becoming a challenge. The Board of Equalization has not issued any guidelines for these new generation campuses and skilled nursing facilities, and without guidelines, staff is charting new territory, which make these valuations more difficult and time-consuming. Also, we've not previously seen mixed-use facilities of the magnitude we are now witnessing. We'll cover the assessment appeals on the next slide. New commercial development, we face approximately 47 million square feet of new commercial development planned over the next 5 to 6 years, including 20 million square feet under construction, which we're projecting in fiscal year 17-19. The assessment property tax system, this is a highlight and a goal, but it's also a huge challenge because of its continuing commitment of staff hours that is necessary to develop the scope matrix and requirements for the new system. The other challenge is that we have sufficient staff to prepare and issue the RFP. However, the necessary resources have not been allocated to go beyond that point. Legislation and litigation, the increased complex nature of property we are assessing and the lack of established guidelines has led to an increase in aggressive legislative proposals and appeals. Approximately $20 billion of assessed value is at risk before the Assessment Appeals Board, and $2 billion of assessed value as at risk before the courts. Recruitment and staffing levels, a limited labor market, heavier workloads, and increased complexity of the work have all contributed to the challenges we are facing with recruitment and staffing. The challenge is exacerbated by a limited housing market and transportation options. Potential staffing augmentation, we are exploring a new assessment model to utilize the services of a professional appraisal firm to supplement existing staff. And if we determine that this is not a viable option, we may need to reappropriate our fiscal year 16-17 budget allocation. In our elections division, our Hart InterCivic voting system is nearing the end of its useful life, and an evaluation process will be initiated to replace the current voting system. Our biggest challenge at this time is that there are limited options available. The systems that are certified are dated technology, but we understand that there are at least 2 companies that will be submitting applications for certification in the near future. Recent legislation passed by the state is changing the manner in which elections are and will be conducted in the future. Over the next 2 years, the laws you see here will dramatically change the way we administer elections in our county. SB 415, which you're familiar with, and that is the changing of local elections from odd to even numbered year elections. SB 450 authorizes 14 counties, including San Mateo County, to conduct all mail ballot elections commencing in 2018. Our successful all mail ballot election was one of the influencing factors in the passage of this legislation. And this bill will require the county to opt in, and we'll be discussing that option with you in the near future. AB 1461 is the new motor voter law. AB 1436, same-day voter registration law. And AB 2252 is the remote accessible vote-by-mail systems bill. As you can see from this chart, staffing levels in elections is below the Bay Area average of other elections offices. We are the leanest in the Bay Area and one of the leanest in the state, with many single points of potential failure. And this will become even more of an issue when the effects of some of these new laws go into effect. And I'm going to be scheduling a meeting with Mr. Maltby in the near future to discuss the impacts of some of these new laws on the operations of our office. Now on to performance measures. We have consistently closed 100% of the roll on time for each of the last 5 years. According to the BOE in their last report, only 62% of the counties in the state closed their rolls on time. Regarding property roll value per assessor staff, we are the highest of the Bay Area counties at $2.28 billion per assessor staff member. We exceeded the benchmark of $1.28 billion, which is the average of the other 8 Bay Area counties, and we also exceeded our target of $2.1 billion. 81% of customers rated the services provided by the assessor and county clerk recorder divisions as good or better. The number of walk-in customers for passports, as I mentioned, has increased dramatically this past year and the last 2 years, which has resulted in much longer lines and wait times. And so our customer service rating went down from 91% for the previous year. We achieved 9 of 16 performance measures in FY 15-16. Some of the performance measures, such as the number of recorded documents per recorder staff, are beyond our control and the result of market activity. And we regularly meet with our employees to provide evaluations and feedback. However, we don't reduce those meetings to writing. Unfortunately, time is an issue. Written performance evaluations have taken somewhat of a backseat to regular duties like closing the roll and conducting elections. And as you may know, the current management trend is moving away from the traditional annual performance evaluation model in favor of a coaching approach that is collaborative, frequent, relevant to the actual work, and career development oriented. And we look forward to implementing the new performance evaluation model, which HR is moving towards. For FY 14-15, 69% of employees rated their experience of working for the county as very good. However, that same employee engagement survey reports that 83% of employees are proud to work for the department, 82% of employees like the work they do, and 82% reported that they feel their job is more than just a job. Our cost per capita is $31.82. We met the target, which was $39.64 or under. And we are also well below the benchmark cost of $34.79. So in conclusion, this has been a very busy year. I want to thank the board for its support this past year. And then I want to recognize and thank my staff for their dedication, hard work and commitment throughout the year. They have done a remarkable job in working together to achieve the accomplishments we have discussed today. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you for the report. Questions, comments, perspectives? Supervisor Groom.
Mr. Church, could you talk a little bit more about the voting machines and new models and when they might be here and when they might be certified? And
so the current voting machines were purchased in 2006, and as I mentioned, they are nearing the end of their useful life. There are machines that have been certified by the state, but they are outdated technology. And I'm not recommending that we purchase any of those machines. My recommendation would be that we wait until these other companies submit their applications, newer technology, and once those machines are certified, we'll have something to choose from. We are, in the meantime, looking at continuing with our current system and it will last for a few more years.
So with the trend in the ever increasing voting by mail, at some point, what would be the amount of voting machines we might need, or
So the number of voting machines will be dramatically reduced. I think we have 1,400 voting machines right now. With SB 450, if this board decides to opt into participating in that, we would have what we termed as universal polling places. They're like voting centers. In the all-mail ballot election last year, we had 33 of them throughout the county.
Oh, interesting.
We would have something similar to that. So enough machines for each of those voting centers throughout the county. So the number would be dramatically reduced.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Supervisor Horsley.
Just, well, actually, a couple of questions. One is, I don't know if you listened this morning when there's a gentleman who comes almost weekly to talk about the election systems. His name is Brent Turner. In any case, he came in today and he wanted us to set up some kind of a committee, and I'm not necessarily interested in that. But he did talk about an incident log at when the elections when the election is actually certified. That we should take a look at the incident log. So I guess you should be prepared to actually probably send that over, because I know he's going to be coming back, because he told us he's going to be coming back every week.
So I didn't hear his comments, but they were reported to me that there were issues where people were asked for identification. And all I can say to that, and I haven't seen the specific reference in the log. The logs are voluminous, and so I will look at that. But I think you have to realize that we have over 2,200 people out in the field on election day. We do our best at training these people. Mistakes sometimes are made, but that is not the policy of our office to ask for identification. So not everybody follows the policy, as I say, but we will address that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor Horsley.
The other thing is I wanted to commend you on, you said you only have 2 full-time positions that are vacant. And I think the last time at the board meeting, it was something like 19 or 17 or something. So you've done a really good job in a short period of time of filling positions.
We worked hard at it, and the 2 that are vacant, one recently retired, who was a senior in change in ownership, and we're going to miss her. And the other left to work in the DA's office. Is that correct? And he has a law enforcement background. Okay. And so that just fit his background more. He was an appraiser. So we're actively seeking to fill those positions. We did receive 2 letters this past week from 2 more outstanding staff members. One is moving to the East Bay with her family to find affordable housing, and the other one lives in South San Jose, and also an excellent appraiser. And the commute was just too much. It was over an hour one way every day. So she now has taken a job in the Santa Clara County Assessor's Office. So it's going to be 4, but we are actively seeking to fill those positions.
But you clearly have done a good job of filling the other positions, so congratulations on that. On this other, the assessment property tax system, does that mean that you and the controller and the tax collector would all have to have different systems and then somehow have, I guess, middleware of some sort to communicate whatever you need to communicate jointly? And
well, I'll let the controller address that part of it. I think they are talking possibly of joining with the tax collector, but that will be up to the controller and tax collector. But what it means for us is that we are now seeking to prepare an RFP for an assessor-only system The one vendor was not qualified to do an integrated system, and they have told us that they do not want to sell a system to only one department. So we are doing a new RFP, and that will be, we're in the process of preparing that, and that will be prepared and issued in January.
When and if you do that, though, will you have to somehow have your system communicate with their system?
Yes.
So that means there'll have to be some kind of, I guess, I don't know if it's called middleware or what, but.
Yes, and they will all be compatible, so they do communicate with one another.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? I had actually two questions, if everybody was done. That speaker this morning, Mr. Church, Brent Turner, urged us, as best as I understand it, to join with San Francisco on some kind of an open source voting system development. Are you aware of that project in San Francisco, and can you just shed a little light on what Mr. Turner was speaking about?
Well, I'm aware of San Francisco efforts. I'm also aware of Los Angeles County's efforts. These processes are in the very early stages of exploring an open source system. We are open to anything, and and we are certainly willing to consider the open source system. One of the major issues with the open source system is that we would have to maintain the system ourselves. And that requires a tremendous commitment of IT staffing. And we presently don't have that, but nonetheless, we will certainly consider all of the systems at the appropriate time as we move forward. And there'll be a process where the public will be invited to comment and on the system that is on the various systems and on the recommended system.
Thank you. Just one other easy question. The number of documents recorded, do you happen to have that, or does Jim have that? Or
well, I don't have the specific number with me. Do you have that?
Recorded documents, 133,000.
So is this for the last fiscal year? Yes. Okay. So fiscal year 15-16, it is now 133,726. That's for the last fiscal year. And so it has been, it's slightly up from the prior fiscal year, which was 133,440, and the fiscal year before that was 133,989, and that is way down from fiscal year 12-13, which was over 204,000. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Azari. Other questions of Mr. Church? No? Thank you very much for the great report.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all being
Thank you
here.
very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to the controller, the guy with all the money, Mr. Juan Ragoza. Yep.
Good morning, President Slocum, members of the board. I was going to say Mr. Maltby and Mr. Bias, but it looks like they've stepped out for a moment.
On our own now.
I am Juan Ragoza, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to present the performance report for the Controller's Office. Our mission is to contribute to the financial transparency and the operational effectiveness of the county. We pursue our mission by working to provide quality accounting services to our customers. We also work to maintain strong internal controls by administering financial accounting procedures and performing operational reviews, all to improve the county's business operations. Our office is also committed to improving the transparency, presentation, and accessibility of financial information. Through the county's website, we offer residents and others access to information about the county's activities, including financial reporting, property tax, open checkbook, and unclaimed checks information. During this short presentation, I will present several performance measures, talk about some recent highlights, and also discuss some priorities and goals. Our first measure to report on is on financial reporting. Last year, the county's audited financial statements received the Government Finance Officers Association Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 16th consecutive year. We also received the GFOA Award in Financial Reporting for the PAFR. That's the shorter version, the Reader's Digest version of the county's comprehensive annual financial report. These reports provide useful information about the county's financial activities to its residents, taxpayers, credit rating agencies, and others. Last year, we issued all 60-plus annual property tax distributions on time to 134 taxing agencies operating in San Mateo County. Property taxes are a key source of revenues for most, or I should say many, local government agencies. We distributed over $2.4 billion. The largest portion, 43%, went to the school districts. The rest went to the county, cities, special districts, successor agencies of former RDAs, the former redevelopment agencies. This year, once again, 96% of customer survey respondents rated the services that we provide as good or better. We will continue to work to maintain this level of customer satisfaction. In addition to providing ongoing feedback to employees, taking the time to agree upon expectations and then to evaluate employee performance goals is another important measure. Last year, we completed 90% of annual employee evaluations. We exceeded our target of 70%. Next time we set our goal, we expect to increase it to 85, 90%, or perhaps higher. Our department is organized into 6 divisions, each with very different responsibilities. As a result, we currently use 20 different performance measures to meet our goals. Last year, we met 90% of our performance goals. Our target was 90%. Another key measure, the percent of our employees who rated their experience working for the county as good or better, was 70%. We are increasing our employee engagement and employee development activities to get this measure up. We also use a department-wide cost benchmark. This benchmark of $15.67 per resident is the average cost per capita of 7 Bay Area counties to do the work done by the Controller's Office. So how do we compare? The average cost per San Mateo County resident to do the work our office does is $12.30, a little lower than the average for all 7 Bay Area counties. In case you're wondering, we were not able to get the necessary cost information for San Francisco and Marin to do any kind of apples-to-apples comparison, so we excluded both of them from this benchmark calculation. Moving along, last year we issued 98.6% of payroll payments correctly, a little less than our target of 99%. We are providing additional training and evaluating our procedures to reduce the number of corrected payments and to get this measure as close to 100% as we can. In terms of highlights for last year, we had many. Over the last 3 years, our office has worked with the state's Department of Finance, County Counsel's Office, and the County Manager's Office to see that the state makes special budget appropriations to make the county and the cities whole for vehicle license fee and triple flip property tax shortfalls. I would like to especially thank Connie Juarez Denro, Legislative Director with the County Manager's Office, for helping us to recover these shortfalls. To date, we have recovered almost 15 million in property tax shortfalls, with 12 million going to the cities and about 3 going to the county. If and when needed, we will continue to ask the state to make us whole. Another highlight from last year is that we issued our annual property tax publication. The property tax publication describes the property tax process in San Mateo County, and it shows how much each taxing agency, each city, school district, special district, and the county receive each year in property taxes. It includes the taxes for the 1% general tax, school bonds, and special charges. I recommend that you review or read this tax publication. I think you'll find it interesting, and if you enjoy numbers, you may even find it informative.
We'll take a look at that.
Okay. Two of our priorities for this year include updating our business continuity plans and replacing our property tax system. To help ensure that our office continues its business operations in case of emergencies, we'll continue to develop and test our disaster recovery plans related to both systems and other business processes. We also expect to soon select a solution to replace our property tax system. We were looking for a vendor solution, but we did not find one that meets our business needs. Our current system has been developed to automate almost all of the functions that we used to do manually on spreadsheets or outside the system. We're not necessarily interested in going backwards. We want to move forward. To this end, we will soon be requesting proposals to rewrite our custom property tax system, which should provide us more information to make a decision about our future solution. In addition to taking care of daily operations, like keeping the county's books and paying for goods and services, we have other goals. One of our goals for the next 2 years includes performing construction audits. In the upcoming years, the county is investing in various large capital projects. These investments will total hundreds of millions of dollars. These infrastructure projects include the new animal shelter, the new Emergencies Operations Center, a couple of fire stations, the Cordilleras Mental Health Facility, and various others. These audits will help us to ensure that the county is using adequate internal controls to effectively manage these projects, their cost, and the quality of the services received. I'd like to mention a couple of potential challenges as we move forward. First is our ability to attract qualified candidates. Given the tight job market, it has been difficult to attract qualified accountants and auditors. However, with HR's help with recruitments, we're able to fill the positions. It's just sometimes it takes us a little bit longer than we would prefer. One of our priorities, which is to improve our business continuity plans, will also have its challenges. We'll need to look at what kind of things may go wrong in different types of emergencies and develop specific plans to mitigate or overcome any disruptions to our abilities to do our work. For example, how would we pay bills, issue paychecks, or keep the county's books if internet access is down or if our office building becomes unusable? We plan to further develop and document and, most importantly, to test and practice our abilities to continue to do business under such circumstances. Before I conclude, I would like to thank some of the folks that help our office get things done. Please stand. Here to my right are Irene Levitov, Christy Pasalacqua, Shirley Terrell, and Herschel Kanakia. I would also like to thank the entire team in our office. Our successes are the result of their hard work. Thank you, and I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Ragosa. Questions? Supervisor Tissier.
Just one quick question. Under the percentage of employees rating experience working for the county as good or better, what kind of comments are you hearing? Are you hearing the same thing in the other departments, the housing, transportation? Is that a big part of it, or do you have any sense of?
Yeah, I think those are some of the issues. And I think in our particular case, we've had some turnover in staff, and we've had quite a bit of changes in terms of systems. And some people have retired and so forth, but what we want to do to get those numbers up is do things to engage the employees more and what they do in our office, and to to also help them with their development efforts. I think that's how we'll get those numbers up. Yeah, because they did it. I think it went from like 80 to 70, which is a pretty substantial decrease.
All right, thank you.
Supervisor Horsley.
Just looking at your working with other departments to begin replacement of, are your current systems, the tax collector, controller, and assessor, integrated currently?
Currently, the tax collector and us, the controller's office, we share the same system.
Yeah.
The assessor has his own system, but we do have interfaces, electronic data interfaces, so that we can talk to each other.
Okay.
That's how we're currently set up.
So are you, are you looking to have an integrated system with the tax collector now? Or?
Well, initially when we started this project, it's been what, a couple of years now, a year and a half, something like that. We went and gathered our business requirements, issued an RFP for all 3 offices. The idea was to get a solution, a package solution that meets the needs of all 3 offices, because that is the ideal solution. Yeah. Unfortunately, there isn't a system that meets the needs of all 3 offices. So,
is there one that meets your needs with the tax collector? Because if you're currently kind of connected.
Sure. There was 2 proposals that we received that claimed to meet the needs of both of our offices. One of them, neither the tax collector or us thought it did. And the other one, I think the tax collector is interested in pursuing that one particular system, but it doesn't meet our needs.
So then you would all 3 have separate systems, but you would, in doing this, you would probably at the same time have to make sure that your systems have the ability to communicate.
Correct.
Makes it more complicated, but.
Through the president to Supervisor Horsley, it really is essentially the same system as we have with criminal justice now. Yeah. And it is more complicated, but we have to build the back end to make sure that the interfaces work correctly.
It only took about a dozen years for criminal justice, so.
Yeah, property tax laws in California are very unique to California, especially on the apportionment and allocation side. So I think that's part of the complexity and part of the reason why there isn't various solutions out there to choose from. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ragosa. Did I understand you right when you were talking about the system that you're going to issue an RFP to redo, if you will, the current system? Well, modernize it.
We're in the process of writing an RFP, and we expect to issue it next month. And the purpose of this RFP is to get an idea as to the feasibility and to the potential cost of rewriting our custom system. Our current custom system, it meets our needs. The only thing is it's written in an old programming language, and we need to get it updated to something more modern. So,
thank you. That's one other question. You may not have this information right now. In fact, I'd be very surprised and shocked if you did. But I'm curious to know the numbers from Google Analytics or whatever on people accessing our open checkbook.
I haven't seen those numbers in probably a year or so, but they do keep them. I know ISD tracks those numbers, and I think the Open Checkbooks is one of the open data websites that gets the most hits consistently.
Do you think you could get that number from Mr. Walton? Sure. Thank you. And then I had another systems question, if I could, but I'm going to direct it to Mr. Maltby. Perhaps he can help me understand this. As a former department head, when you go out to the market, there's rarely a system that meets all your requirements. And what tends to happen is you select the closest one that you can, and then you write checks to get, what it is you really want that meets all of your business requirements. And we've heard from the assessor, there's no system out there that meets his needs. We just heard from Mr. Ragosa that there's no system that meets his needs. And I'm not sure about the tax collector. She seems to be moving toward a decision. But I'm just curious about the philosophy of, it seems to be, you have to have this perfect match in order to go forward when, my experience says that's not necessarily the case. And then I think the other question, which we could say for Mr. Walton, is this whole question of middleware and getting these things to talk and how difficult or not difficult that might be. But I'm just curious about that.
Through the president, to your first question, I think if you were dealing with a single department and the software needs of a single department, you're absolutely correct that although there's probably no perfect vendor solution, we would look to take a system that we had and try to modify it appropriately to meet our needs. That gets much more complicated when you have multiple departments that have different needs. Obviously, departments in which there's a system that's really a mission critical system like the property tax system is for the county. With respect to the second question, and Mr. Walton could address this better than I think probably in the last 5 years or so, that middleware has gotten much more robust and better. And so it's easier. I don't want to make it sound easy, but it's easier to make a more complete, compelling system than there used to be and try to do the interfaces in the old days.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions of Mr. Ragosa? Nope. Thank you for the report. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it. Move on to number 3, which is the Information Services Department, Director Walton.
Good morning still. President Slocum, members of the board, Mr. Baltby, Mr. Byers, John Walton, Director of Technology. I can tell from having sit in the audience and listening to the conversations, you have a lot of questions for me, so I'll try to go through my presentation quickly so we preserve enough time. I will say, just as a preamble, that it's always, in the old days, I used to be able to throw out terms like middleware and things like that to fake my way through presentations. So it's a little scary to sit in the audience now and hear unprompted comments of middleware and open source from board members. So I'm obviously going to change my tactics when it comes to these presentations and think of new clever ways to get through these. But to speak first to our department performance measures before we get into some of these other conversations, I just want to take a few minutes and briefly touch on our department's performance. Our mission statement, provide innovative solutions, excellent customer service, and greater access to information. As the old ads on TV used to say, we don't really solve all the problems, we just try to make everyone else's solutions better. So we are not entirely centralized. We've tried to provide very good centralized support to some of the medium and small size departments, and we try to support the larger departments who have their own IT staff and being successful in their mission. We really have then 2 headline measures which we've tried to roll everything up to in the department, and then about 14 sub-measures. We tried a different approach in providing our performance metrics to streamline our presentation, because we know sometimes talking about technology isn't always the most exciting thing in the world. So bear with me as I go through this presentation. We didn't do a slide on every single measure. We did the 2 headline measures as separate slides, and then we just did one table to summarize all the others. The good news in our presentation is we continue to do a good job, I think, as a department and with our county departments on implementing projects. We implemented over 68 projects last year successfully, on time, on budget, with a high degree of customer satisfaction. And that's actually a very hard measure to hit, frankly. We have a joke in project management, happy customers, on time, on budget, you can have any 2. So to hit all 3 measures on 68 projects, a high percentage of the time was a real accomplishment for the staff, and I just want to recognize them for that. Conversely, the good thing about data is it tells you good news. The bad thing about data is it also shares with you bad news. The bad news is we made some changes last year to improve our customer satisfaction and actually had the opposite effect. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. Our goal was 85% and we achieved 79%. And I will take complete blame for this. We had some ideas on how we could improve that, and we made some adjustments and saw a decrease in the numbers. The good news, and maybe I'm giving data too much credit or our ability to interpret the data too much credit, I think we know exactly why that happened, and I think we've already implemented actions that's going to result in some improvements this coming year. So having said that, I can now see that light green and light yellow don't work on PowerPoint at all on the big screen, but I hope it did in your printouts. The 2 headline measures at the top, one is green and one is yellow, showing that we didn't achieve our measures. We really have 4 administrative one administrative area, 1 client support area, a systems availability, and an innovation area. It's kind of the 4 general areas we track our measures in. And the first thing I'd like to note is, when you look at the headline measures and what contributes to the top line, the one thing that frankly caused the dip in our customer satisfaction is the top line customer satisfaction measure is actually a calculation based on the sub-measures. And what we saw that we had never measured before was the customer satisfaction in our administrative area. Previously, that measure had been all internal on how well our administrative staff supported our internal staff. We made a change last year because in our goal to provide better service to our departments, we reached out to provide contract support to all the departments doing IT contracts. IT contracts are a thing that every department goes through a process. It's time consuming. There's a lot of details that go into it, and we thought we could add value to that process. To the credit of the staff that do this for us, I think they do a very good job at that. The mistake I made when we implemented this process last year is I decided to charge a fee for that. One of the ways we cover our costs in the IT department is we charge for everything. The customers love the fact that we support their contracts. They don't love paying for the support of their contracts. So I had a choice to make to simply roll that into my overhead and make it appear to be free, the contract support we provided. Instead, I decided to charge a fee for that. And as you can see from the numbers, what they told us through customer satisfaction with that is that they don't like paying a fee for that. So we've decided to include that in our overhead costs now, and we continue to provide contract support to departments. But in the year we're in now, we, through the guidance of our new Chief Administrative Officer, Aditi Kelkar, we've notified departments that we're no longer going to charge them that fee. So I'm hopeful when I report to you next year, you'll see an increase in that 43. Otherwise, I'll be talking about middleware and things like that to try to distract you from that number. Employee engagement, not to ignore the good news in the rest of the chart, but I tend to focus on the things we can improve the most. Employee engagement is also at 67% rather than our target of 75. And frankly, I have my own theory as to why this is. We worked with HR and explored our data. Really, it boils down to two things in our department that I think were the most impactful. One is we had to move everyone out of the third floor of 455 to do the remodel. Now, that's great news because we're going to get a great new department someday in the coming calendar year, and everyone will be very happy. But as you probably all know from your professional lives, whenever you take all your staff from the place they've been sitting and the place they've been committing to for several years, and you move them to temporary housing, whether it's in different temporary lease space or permanent space, it's upsetting to them. And secondarily, we finished a 4-year process of reclassifying all the positions and pay grades for all the IT staff in the department, which was a 3.5-year process with the expert help of HR. Again, I think that was a long-term, anxious making time for all the departments, the staff in the departments. I think now that we're through that and everyone understands the new classifications, the new pay structure, which frankly, from my perspective, benefited pretty much everyone in the department. I think everyone now, once they know where they're sitting and what their new classification is, I'm hopeful that you're going to see an increase again in that next year as well. And then the last one I just want to talk about in terms of where we're going in the future is response time. The response time is a thing we try to keep the systems up, but unfortunately there are times when the systems crash or go down or there's a problem with it. And response time is very important to us when we get back to customers when they have issues or outages. What we found is because of the increased number of applications we have on the internet, as you've heard from all the departments that are presenting, there's this refresh of technology that's going on right now for several years. More and more of their business is moving out to the internet, and the expectation that people can get it on their mobile devices, and when they have a problem that will respond to it quickly, we need to adapt the hours of our workforce to do that. Traditionally, we've been a very 7 to 5, 8 to 5 department, Monday through Friday, and now we're meeting with staff and the unions to talk about extended hours, how we can do after-hours call support better, because making people wait till the next business day or things like that is really not an effective way to respond to customers when they expect 24/7 support of things. So we're working with HR and the unions and our staff to figure out better ways to do that, which I think will increase our ticket response time as well in the coming year. With that, again, I just want to, like I said, I tend to sometimes focus on the things we need to improve, but, I think it is important, and I want to give credit to the hardworking staff in the department. We met 11 of our 14 key measures. As I said, I think we know from the data where we need to continue to improve around contract service charges that we've changed. Customer billing is also a sub area where we need to create more clarity around that. When we bill customers, they really want to understand better what we're billing them for. Our video conferencing system in the county that many people rely on is aging, but we have an opportunity now to integrate that with our new Office 365 email system and make that easier. And SharePoint is something that we've implemented, but we feel we can leverage more in the department. The improvement plans then align directly with that. It has a lot to do with continuing to provide more training and communication on these things, continuing to invest in infrastructure through the support of Measure A funds, and having the tools we need and the technology we need to do these things. Just to touch on a few more maybe highlights of things that we did well in the past year. We completed the core network upgrade, which created more bandwidth so that all these new applications that everyone's implementing could run faster. We continue to expand the open data program, both in support of Measure A and in general for hackathons and open checkbook, as you remembered, and we're trying to track down those numbers for you right now and reach out to staff and see how many hits we're getting on that. We continue to increase the Wi-Fi sites, and I was happy to be here this morning when the convention center was here, because that's one of our target areas where we've heard from people who attend the Makers Fair and things like that they'd like better coverage. So I was able to connect with them on the break and talk about perhaps they would be interested in having our assistance in increasing coverage in areas like that where we know we have gatherings of people that benefit all the county and really improving connectivity there. The criminal justice portal, as you know, many of our local law enforcement agencies are tapped into that now. We launched the external facing website so that those other law enforcement agencies could access the data and share data. And I think that's been a real success. And we've already been contacted by San Francisco and Santa Clara to see how that works and if they can leverage some of those successes that the CGI community has accomplished in the last year to model those, because every county in the Bay Area is faced with some of the same challenges about sharing data and accessing data, about warrants and things like that. As you all know, we moved email systems. We've launched a new GIS portal, and tomorrow's GIS Day. So if you have a chance after Connect 16 to come by and celebrate GIS Day for us. I started my career in GIS, so I have a soft spot for it. I'm going to go over there and talk about the old days when we used mainframes to do maps, and all the people will laugh at me. And then we're going to continue to try to enhance cell phone coverage. We really believe the dependence on cell phone coverage in building in the facilities we own and operate here in the county is important, because it's really become the lifeline for people, whether it's disasters or emergency situations. It's no longer a luxury convenience. To not have cell phone coverage isn't so much about checking your Facebook feed as much as you're concerned when you can't get updates about your loved ones or reach out to people. So we really want to continue to enhance that. Our goals then for 17-19, like I said, is to continue to focus on how to improve customer satisfaction, continue to deliver our projects. We've really become much more involved through Joint Venture Silicon Valley and some other groups around smart and connected communities. We're working closely with a lot of the cities in our county, talking about how we can do better partnerships with places like South San Francisco and Redwood City and Millbrae and others, about connecting those cities and sharing data and making them more connected and addressing things like transportation and things like that. Just to jump ahead to the Measure A things we're going to continue working on, which is mainly focused around the behind the scenes infrastructure. We're going to start using the cloud to back up data. We've been sort of traditional tape-based, so we're going to start using the Amazon cloud now to back up data off-site in a secure and encrypted way. We're going to continue to expand our GIS, expand the network fiber for the bandwidth we have in the county for all these connectivities, the Wi-Fi both in building and for the public. And then probably replace the phone system in the near future. The phone system we have here is about 12 years old. It's an old Nortel-based PBX system. It's about 13 different PBXs scattered around the county. I know we all use cell phones and email primarily, but there are a lot of services that still rely on the regular traditional landlines for our call center functionality at hospitals and for things like that. So we're going to be working with our vendors to figure out what the best solution for the future around our phone system is. in closing, so that we can talk about some of these other topics, I just want to share this graph with you because it's one of my, as a subscriber to Gartner, it's always been one of my favorite things they always put out there is this graph. Is I think one of the challenges we have in the county, as you all know, is there was a real backlog of demand for replacing technology in the county. And I think, we've done a great job countywide in all the departments of really pushing forward with a lot of these changes. And the psychology of that, or the cultural impact of that, if you will, is you have this pent-up demand. Everybody wants a new application. Everybody wants a new PC. And so Gartner always kind of humorously put up this graphic when we'd talk about some of these new technologies, emerging technologies, about the peak of inflated expectations and the trough of disillusionment. And I was walking into HOJ the other day behind two long-term employees, and they didn't know I was kind of ghosting in behind them through the door. And I heard them talk, one say to the other, "Oh, did you hear about the new application they just launched?" And the other one was like, "Oh, not another application. Can we just go through 1 month without a new application being launched?" And so I think we really need to hit that hard this year. And I've been talking a lot with our partner departments about what more can we do around communication and training and better customer support. So all these new applications we're launching aren't just a nice to have or well, who said we needed that? I could do it faster on my old system, and really get up to that plateau of productivity and get people back feeling like it's not just new technology for new technology's sake, or a new toy because somebody likes that new device and it's a better design or color. And we really want people to feel productive with the technology we're putting in place. So we're really going to be hitting that hard this year. And as we reform the department and continue to work with the other departments, that's going to be a real focus for us. With that, I will wrap up my presentation, and I'm open to questions, obviously, or I can address some of them you've already brought up.
Thank you, Mr. Walton. Questions? Supervisor Pine. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation, John. So following up on the discussion you've heard earlier about the assessor's office and the controller's office and their struggle with upgrading their systems, and can you explain your role in that and what your perspective is on that?
Excuse me. Yes, absolutely. It's one of the benefits of this county, I think, or one of the real strengths of it, is the collaborative nature of this county. And having worked for a lot of different governments, I will say that differentiates this county in a lot of ways. My role sometimes is to be the implementer, as more of a lead on large IT projects. So, let's look at the Workday project. I mean, that was a close coalition of, the controller's office and ISD and the county manager's office and HR to implement a single unified system to solve a number of problems or systems we were trying to replace. My role on other projects, CGI that was mentioned, which is probably the model for the emerging solution that'll be used by those other three departments, tax and controller and assessor, will be more of an integrator of separate systems. Ideally, as an idealist at heart, I always like to find one system that solves all the problems, one system that I can put in place that's vendor supported, and that they're going to have the staffing and the upgrades and support, and we never have to worry about it again. The CGI model was, as you all know, from what Supervisor Horsley said, started quite a while ago. Every department felt it needed its own separate system. In that model, they all went and got their own vendor-supported system, but ISD played a role in integrating those systems together so that they talked to each other, exchanged data. If there was issues or problems, we were there to support and troubleshoot. And we continue in that role. I mean, the probation management system, of course, being the last one that'll come online in December. I think that's going to be the model we follow for the new ATS system. We did do the RFP, as the other department heads have told you. I think tax did find a product that they feel meets their needs well, and they'll be coming back to you soon with a contract. I can say that system that they're talking about at tax doesn't have any of the capabilities the assessor's needs. It wasn't proposed to. It was a very tax-oriented solution. So the assessor is obviously going to have to look for some other solution that better fits their needs. I think the controller will have to make a decision at some point after reviewing the results of their RFP, what the best path forward with them. But I will assure you that whatever is selected by the three departments, we will take the responsibility for making sure that the data flows well and accurately between those three systems, so that whatever happens behind the scenes with the behind the scenes systems, that they stay in sync and that they're available to the public and useful.
And just one follow up on that. So it sounds like the replacement and upgrading of the systems in these three departments, or maybe putting aside the tax treasurer, and then integrating them. Unfortunately, it sounds like it's going to take a while, maybe a couple of years. So, are you confident in the underlying systems to hang in there while we move?
I think that is the challenge in all of this is probably the technology trigger. If we go back to the slide, is we all know those are aging systems, and so even picking a system today, as tax will be talking to you about, is going to take a year to several years to implement just one system. So I think if the other two, as you heard, the other two departments are going to issue new RFPs, an RFP process takes 6-12 months to go from issuance to selection to signing of a contract. So those old systems that are put in place are going to have to survive and be productive at least for several more years before the replacement is complete. And so having spoken to the other department heads, they've assured me that, through adding staff and thinking about their contingency plans, they're pushing forward as fast as they feel comfortable at that point. But I also think they feel comfortable they have plans in place to support those existing systems.
Okay. I think it's just really important, for you to be very, integrated in that process and to let us know if you have any concerns.
We have a steering committee made up of myself, the other three department heads, and the CMO's office, and we plan on keeping that steering committee and keeping close monthly communication going to make sure that they are moving forward and that everything's working well together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pine. Other questions of Mr. Walton? I actually had a couple of questions. I'm wondering if we could talk about dark fiber for a moment.
Absolutely. My favorite topic.
Just kidding. Curious, there were reports recently of some hacks to the system, I guess, the county system. And I'm wondering if you can comment on security and the efforts that you've made to address that.
Yeah, as you all probably received my email, hopefully. You don't have me auto-routed to your clutter, to your spam folder yet. My emails regarding the recent, credentials that were stolen by hackers to access our systems. I think just in context, we always try to balance convenience to the users with security. Security is often seen as a nuisance or a bother, and often what it leads to is multiple times you have to change your password every few weeks, and then we all end up writing our passwords down and carrying them around in our wallet because we can't remember all of our usernames and passwords, which works great until your truck's broken into, like mine, and then it kind of all falls apart. But our goal there, Supervisor Slocum, is you're right. There was what we call a phishing attempt, where the hackers, sent out very well crafted, ingenious emails to trick users into disclosing their username login information. We were fortunate that it was reported. We blocked the majority of it. It went to over 1,000 users in the county. We blocked the majority of it. About 14 users in the county were directly affected by it. The changes we've made subsequent to that is separating further the systems, some of the systems on behind the scenes on the infrastructure side, so that if somebody gets one username and password, that can't be used. We don't allow the replication right now. What we're going to do in the future, in the very near future, probably in the next month or so, is require 2 forms of ID for people to access anything that has secure or confidential information in it, which is kind of an industry standard. We call it dual factor authentication, and we're working closely with a vendor to do that. We've also talked with the county manager's office. We'd like to marry that up with a single sign-on system, so that when you use your dual factor to get into a system, that it logs you into multiple systems rather than having to have things written down and things like that. So we have a fairly, I would say, aggressive plan over the holidays to have things in place by January and February to hopefully prevent that one. I wish I could tell you that, I can guarantee you standing here today, there'll never be another hacking attempt on the county or successful attempt. But, we're hopeful through educating the users and trying to work with the private sector folks as much as possible that we can minimize them as much as possible.
Thank you. Just one other comment. Middlefield Road Improvement Project is, moving forward, and at some point next year or near future, we'll start undergrounding the power poles. And I'm still wanting to talk further about laying fiber down when we dig up the street to do that. If we could, continue that conversation of how that might be possible.
Absolutely. We'll follow up with you on that. We've been talking with Public Works about that, and also a number of the cities that are interested in a Dig Once policy and like to come together to do a joint policy.
Yeah.
There's actually a SAMCAP board meeting tomorrow that I'm attending, and that's one of the topics on there.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, thank you for the report. Appreciate it. We'll move now to County Council. Mr. Byers.
You may have to turn it on.
Okay.
It's newer technology, John.
Maybe Mr. Mulvey can give you a hand
There
there.
it is.
John.
I got it.
Maybe ISD can help you.
Or you fail if you don't turn it off.
I went to law school, not engineering school. So, Mr. President, members of the board, my partner here at the staff table, Mr. Malpe, thank you for this opportunity to allow me to talk about the Office of the County Council. I'm very proud of the work and the accomplishments of the County Council's office. I think what you would observe if you came up to our office, and many of you have been to our office quite frequently, and hopefully you do observe this, is that there's a certain esprit de corps that exists in our office, and I think it's the result of our attorneys and staff really enjoying their work, and I think it's the clients that are the beneficiaries of employees who really enjoy what they do. We really try hard to bring good energy and enthusiasm to our daily work. As Pollyanna as that sounds, I think it's true. We really make a lot of efforts to be enthusiastic about our work. So I know at this point in the morning it's already the afternoon, and you're probably experiencing a little budget presentation fatigue. So I'm going to try to move through my slides. It take about 8 to 10 minutes. I know there are certain slides I have to cover, or Rena will get mad at me. So I'll try to get through it. I mean, so much of what we do, you're very aware of. You're familiar with it. You know what we do. Our offices are inextricably intertwined. To paraphrase our mission, it is to provide high-quality legal services to our clients. What does this mean? To me, this means being right on the law, being creative problem solvers, and being responsive. Really, those three things. And this management team over here, sitting over to my left, works very hard to instill a culture of customer service. I mean, we really, it's a very we're a very client-focused office. And I think unlike some public law offices, we're an office where the word no is rarely used. We try to get to yes. We try to get our clients to yes. We work hard on getting you to yes. It might mean we have to take a slightly different path, but philosophically that's our goal, to get to get you where you want to go. Which also means, I suppose, that if we get to no, you can likely count on no being correct. And I talked a little earlier about the esprit de corps in the office, and I think this is due in no small part to this management team's demonstration of confidence in the attorneys in the office. We give our attorneys a lot of autonomy, a lot of responsibility, and a lot of trust. And I think they really appreciate that. These are professionals who really appreciate that we trust the work that they do. As you can see, we are a small department. We operate on a $12 million budget. We're only 0.49% of the entire county budget. And this is roughly 30% lower than other Bay Area counties using the Bay Area benchmark. So while we have a relatively small financial footprint in the county, I think it's fair to say that we have a big footprint when it comes to the our office's involvement or the services that we provide to each department. This slide also tells the story of the efficiency of the county council's office. We're a good deal for the taxpayers. Not that I'm getting a lot of thank you notes in the mail, but I think this shows we're a good deal. Our per county resident cost is $15.80 compared to $25.16 for the average Bay Area county, making us roughly 60% less expensive than other Bay Area counties on average. Every other year, we email a survey through SurveyMonkey to all of our clients, both external, as you know, we represent all the school districts and many special districts, as well as our internal county clients, to provide feedback on our performance. We're at 96%. Obviously, I'm very proud of that figure. Although to be perfectly honest, to be frank, that number doesn't surprise me because I feel like if I see something for the first time in a survey response, that something's not working, then I really haven't done my job or we haven't done our job because, I like to believe that I'm learning these things in real time. If there's an issue that I learn about it and I deal with it. I don't want to hear it for the first time in a survey result, but sometimes that does happen. But this is obviously a good figure. But I think in large parts because we constantly check in with our clients to make sure things are working. And I find, frankly, with school districts, it's a little trickier. Superintendents can be very sort of idiosyncratic in what lawyers they like to work with. And so that's a lot of, sort of an art more than a science, and trying to match attorneys with school districts. That's just a quick side note. About a year ago, we came up with another way to measure our performance. And what we do is right after we finish a piece of litigation, we send out a survey with a series of questions. How do we do? And we do it right when it's fresh. And I think this has been a good move. We have a pretty small sample size. We sent out roughly 35 surveys last year. We got 12 responses, and this is a new thing that we're doing. But we got a 100% satisfaction rate, so obviously that's a good number. 90% of our employees in our office rate their experience working for the county as good or better. I've been told that our office has one of the highest ratings of all departments. Obviously, I have a lot of pride in that, but we're certainly not going to rest on our laurels. There's still room for improvement, and I think we can do better. We completed 82% of our performance evaluations. We fell a little shy of our goal of 90%. All of our attorneys were evaluated this past year. In fact, I did something new this year. I did 1 hour walking evaluation meetings with each attorney, and sometimes there were 3 a day. So I think it was probably the best shape of my life during that 2-month period. But I thought it would change the dynamic, to make it a little less formal, to maybe foster more feedback, because not only does it give me a chance to provide some input, but I asked the question, how are we doing? How can we make your work life better? So I think it created more of a conversation, and I think it was successful. We fell a little short because we didn't finish all the staff evaluations. We have a new office manager, a management analyst, Mark Hertz, is doing a terrific job, but he's new to the position. He wanted time to get to know his staff, and so I think we'll see that number get up to 100% next time we're together talking about our performance. Because we fell short on our completing 90% of our performance evaluations, that means we fell short on our overall performance goal of 100%. Just a few highlights here that I wanted to provide to you. Obviously Peninsula Clean Energy is very exciting, and a lot of great leadership on this board in that regard. Measure K, assisting the board in drafting and researching and getting out to the voters Measure K. Obviously, that was no small thing. Congratulations to all of you. A few more highlights. You're familiar with all these. Let me say one thing about the last bullet. I think that we have a lot of litigation in our office, and like with roughly 6,000 employees, a little less. I mean, you're bound to have. It's just the nature of any big entity. We just a quick comment on that. Our lawyers are busy defending a lot of litigation for the county, and I think that if you look at the number of civil cases that actually go to trial, it's very small. 92% of civil cases settle. But in our office, that number is a lot smaller. We go to trial. We're not afraid to try cases, and that's been proven. We're also tough negotiators on behalf of the county. We are very kind of protective of the taxpayer money, which I think reflects I know reflects the board's values when it comes to litigation, not overpaying but being fair. So I just wanted to point that out. Well, these goals, I mean, you've heard me say this before. Your goals are my goals. Sounds like I could get a T-shirt made or something, but that's kind of my motto. And so you'll recognize that's good. Anyway, you'll recognize all of these things on this list. Let me just say something about the last bullet. We've really increased our representation of all the commissions over the last couple of years, and we talked as a management team about trying to get our lawyers out to the commissions more. I mean, we're now MTC, and obviously North Forest Community Council, Veterans Commission, LGBTQ. I mean, so we're really staffing many more of the commissions, and certainly willing to do more if the need is there. In terms of some of the challenges. Just a quick comment on the first bullet. I guess this is somewhat to state the obvious, but there's been a huge, as you all well know, there's been a huge uptick in your legislative priorities being regionalized, right? So whether it's the big lift or the housing, our housing situation, plastic bags, the massage ordinance, now marijuana, right? Now that Prop 64 passed, so there's. So you guys are having a lot more, as a board, more regional conversations about a lot of these policy initiatives. And, this presents challenges in trying to get 20 cities in alignment or somewhat in alignment with the county. But I know you would all agree that this challenge is really outweighed by the benefits that flow from being on the same page regionally. So that's it. I did want to thank my management team here today. I know Paul's at the grand jury. I believe he's sitting with the grand jury now. He couldn't be here, but I want to thank all of the management team and, of course, all of the dedicated professionals up on the 6th floor. I want to thank Rolando, who's here, for his excellent support. He's been real strong support for our office as we've been through this budget process. So I really want to call him out specifically. And finally, I want to thank all 5 of you and the county manager. For the support that you provide our office. We really feel your support, and we try our hardest every day to try to meet your goals and to defend the county. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byers. Questions? Mr. Pye?
Yeah. So we couldn't have a better legal support than we have. You and your team are phenomenal. I think it's the secret weapon of San Mateo County. And so I have 4 members of my family, so I figure I'm paying $62.20. And I'd probably pay you $65. But
pretty generous.
But I so much enjoy working with you and your team, and it's definitely, again, we're so fortunate to have a superb law firm embedded in our county.
Thank you, Supervisor Pine.
Supervisor Tissier.
Just a quick question to refresh my memory. How many attorneys do you have in the office?
So we have 29 attorneys and 46 staff. So the non-attorney staff include 4 paralegals, many legal secretaries, and office managers.
I was just thinking, it seems like a very lean budget for the number of people that you have working with you. And I'm sort of curious on 2 fronts. Do you see that needing to be expanded in the future? You mentioned you're short on space? I mean, what do you see the future of your office looking like?
Yeah, so, yeah, space is, I never knew I had a talent of space planning until about 3 or 4 years ago. And we are really getting extremely creative with finding new offices and places to put staff. And but we're pretty much there. And we have expanded our office over the last, thanks to the generosity of the county manager and this board. I mean, you guys have been very, I think, receptive to when I come to you and suggest that we're running and we need more support. So you've been very, very supportive of that, and I think we're constantly mindful of it. We're always checking in, me and my management team, about whether attorneys are overworked. I mean, obviously with all of the great initiatives you guys are doing under Measure A and Measure K, there's a lot. I mean, we need to keep up with all the great stuff that you're doing. So it's important that we continue to track that. So I think we're good for now, but we're constantly checking in. And I do frankly see our office trending toward more probably need for more lawyer support over the next 4 to 5 years. So
thank you, Supervisor Groom.
Well, I just want to say thank you to you, John, but also to every one of the attorneys in the office that have worked with my office. And I know in the last year or so we've just had these enormous requests for public records, and I feel responsible for a great many of them through the Coastal Commission. But you just, you just churn them out. And the last time we took, I don't know how many boxes out of this building, but once we get them out of the building, nobody ever asks for them again. And because they're all right. Some of my other colleagues on the Coastal Commission, they've had to go back to them, back and back, but not us. First box out is the right one. And so but it's really been, it's just, you're all so talented and so helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. Supervisor Horsley.
John, I just remember when you were first selected as a county council, one of the things that we talked about is that I don't really want to hear no. I'd like just to tell me how I can do what I want to do, even if it is different. And that's exactly what you and all of the attorneys in your office do, is that you figure out ways to get things done. And you do it in a really effective, comprehensive way, and certainly keep us out of trouble at the exact same time. I also want to talk about Claire. I think his last name was Cunningham.
Correct.
First of all, she has a remarkable sense of humor, but she worked with us on this Coalition for Safe Schools, and I was really skeptical that you could ever have a legal document that could allow all these different silos to talk to each other, the school records, mental health records, police records. She did it. And it was remarkable. And I think it's emblematic of your attorneys that they figure out ways to accomplish the goals of the board. And I know we all deeply appreciate that.
Thank you, Supervisor Horsley. That really was I guess I'll call it the other big lift. It was, but thank you for that.
John, thank you on a personal note for guiding me through this year of being president. I know I probably called you more than you ever wanted, but you were always very gracious, and thank you. And to the management team, it's an awesome group that you've hired and assembled. And I just want to comment on Mr. Niblin. You mentioned you had a slide up there that had a bunch of commissions. One of them was the Veterans Commission. Last night there was a Veterans Commission, and just my hat's off to John because he was so patient with the commissioners. They've been meeting for a year, and they were voting on a new chairman and a new vice chairman, and the motions weren't made, the votes weren't taken, and John was constantly up going, "Oh, Mr. Chairman, we do need a motion and a vote," but he was so patient and gracious with him. Thank you, John, for helping that Veterans Commission get lifted off the ground. So thank you. Job well done.
Thank you, President.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Saving the best for last. County Manager, Mr. Maltby.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'm going to ask Ms. Morales to make the presentation for her office. She really is the point person for all of the performance measurement that goes on in the county. And if you think where we were maybe 10 or 15 years ago, in terms of very little was being done in terms of really trying to analyze our performance, to really being focused on outcomes and the data, the rich data that the board receives. I just can't thank her enough for that. And of course, I want to add to that my thanks to all the men and women in my department. They really do an outstanding job. They work very hard and they produce a quality work product to assist this board and in their public service to the community. My leadership team, Mike, Raina, and Peggy, they do a great job. Thanks to Jim Eaglemeyer for really taking an idea and really being on the cutting edge of trying to ensure that this county is responsive to and meets the challenges of the 21st century in so many ways, and they're doing that in a really great way. And really to note that when you step back, and I think we all have an appreciation for all the work the county, but that appreciation is also reflected in outside views of our county, whether it's the rating agencies rating us AAA continuously for the strength of our financial systems, or the voters most recently, a week ago Tuesday, 70% of them saying, yeah, we think you're doing a good job and that we could trust you with the resources of this county. So I think the board should feel really good about that, and it's a reflection really of all the men and women that work for this county and the leadership through all of the departments that's reflective of. So I want to express my thanks to everyone.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. So rounding out the team here, for the county manager, clerk of the board, our mission is to implement your vision around a healthy and safe, livable, prosperous, environmentally conscious, and collaborative community. And we do that through the many units in our office around the clerk of the board, budget and performance, our legislative team, and our communications team. So when we track performance out of our office, we take a look at all of the county departments, and I hope that the last few board meetings gave you the opportunity to see what all of our departments are working on and what goals they have for the next 2 years. And when we look at countywide progress, it is all about continuous improvement. It's not always about hitting that target and that goal. And so when we do see departments in our office fall below the goal, it is more about, are we doing better than last year? And is there more that we can do to support our departments and the board to accomplish their goals? Around customer satisfaction, again, this is at the countywide level. We exceeded our 90% goal here. A number of improvements we will be making this coming year. We are signing on to SurveyMonkey enterprise-wide, so for the entire county, to help departments improve their response rates and the number of surveys that are coming in, and then to give managers and supervisors better information to make improvements to their team's performance. And as Mr. Maltby mentioned around AAA credit ratings, and this is a tribute to your board and your fiscal stewardship and to all of our departments and to Jim Sacco and also our controller's office and budget staff around making sure that we have good financial management practices here in the county, and we keep high reserve levels, and these are the things that credit rating agencies look at when we're issuing bonds so that we can save taxpayer money when we're borrowing. So for our office, our level of engagement is very high compared to the county average. The county average was 79.2%, and we came in at 94.1%. And I hear from our staff all the time, it's never boring in our office. There's always something exciting to work on, and we always try new things every year. It makes for a really good team environment in the office. So I won't go through all of these. All of you were part of many of these initiatives, and I want to thank the leadership of Mike Callaghy and Peggy Jensen in our office, and Jim Sacco and Connie Juarez-Durol and Michelle Duran, that's our executive team, for leading and coordinating these efforts around Home for All living wage, everything that's going on in North Fair Oaks, the dispatch services contracts, around realignment and reentry. We did spend quite a bit of time with the sheriff's office and probation and the health system, behavioral health, correctional health, and HSA to implement some lean process improvements in the new jail. We've got 6 work groups going right now. With the lean process, it is the best by far that we've seen team-based problem solving that you can get across departments, across different stakeholders to come up with improvements to processes as well as outcomes for clients and inmates in this case. Other highlights, this was the first year that we applied for the Performance Management Award from ICMA, that's our International City County Management Association, a professional association, and we got that this year. I want to thank our analysts for that. We generated savings. This is thanks to Jim Sacco and our controller's office around the refinance, and our county counsel's office around refinancing some of our bonds to generate savings in borrowing costs. And we provide training and resources to fiscal officers and to all our managers and supervisors throughout the year, including this year our analysts led cross-departmental groups to produce a performance handbook that will address some improvements that our managers and supervisors asked for. And then Michelle Durand with all the Measure A outreach and education, and soon for Measure K, we will continue to provide outreach and education around what our money's being, the sales tax money is being spent on. And for clerk of the board, we did select a new agenda management system, Granicus, and that will be implemented in the coming year. So we'll have a new agenda management system. So our goals for the next 2 years are, these are our top county priority initiatives around ending homelessness by 2020, and thanks to Ileana and her group and Peggy Jensen and housing, and all of our housing our clients work groups around this particular goal. And we're almost there. We are there pretty much for veterans, and we're continuing to provide services to eliminate homelessness in this county by 2020. Around third grade reading, this is primarily the big lift with the goal of 80% of our third graders reading proficiently by 2020. We're working closely with the foundation and all of the schools to implement that. I believe we're up to 8 school districts so far. Almost all to the 11 school districts that fall below the 80% goal. And then lastly, around foster youth, making sure that they are graduating from high school and entering college or participating in some vocational training. So those are our top 3 countywide initiatives. And then the opening of the ROC, the Regional Operations Center, will happen sometime next year. And long-term, in terms of capital and technology, we are working closely with Public Works as well as ISD and all of the departments to ensure that we're planning out all of our facilities needs and technology needs over the next 5 years. And then with support for Home for All, as well as implementation of living wage ordinance, those will be top priorities for us. And the Community Vulnerability Index, if you are around tomorrow for GIS Day, this is one of the tools that we'll be using to prioritize where we put resources in the county. And I want to thank Allison Holt from our office and John Reidner from ISD. This is essentially map visualizations by census tract, so that we can see, by census tract where we are making progress or not around some key indicators, such as health insurance coverage, unemployment, public assistance types of programs where we're looking at where our highest needs are so that we can prioritize our recommendations to you on the allocation of resources. So if you are around tomorrow for GIS Day, they'll be showing that off. And then for 17-19, our challenges are, as much as we are young at heart, if you look at our office, especially our executive team, there are several of us who are planning to retire over the next several years. And so it's important for us to grow talent in our county, as well as build the pipeline. We have partnerships currently with San Francisco State University and their MPA programs, as well as other universities, so that we can make sure that we are continuing to grow the talent pool that we have access to bring the best people here in the county. And then just competing priorities and interests among stakeholders. We all have so many things we wanted to get done yesterday, and so it is a matter of prioritizing to where the highest needs are. And then fiscal discipline, and this is something that the board and our departments have exercised leadership over and over again over many recessions. And we all know there's another one around the corner, and that we need to make sure that we're prepared to exercise that discipline when that time comes. And then lastly, the increased use of data to prioritize resources. I hope you did notice across all the departments that we are using more data to be able to identify where improvements need to be made. And as we look ahead at things like the big data project or what we're gathering from the big lift and from the school safety initiatives, that we can use all of that data to help the community and all of our clients. So I want to end with a look at the next budget cycle. So the next board meeting on December 6th, we will be bringing to your board priorities and some allocation recommendations around Measure A, Measure K. And then given your direction from that priority setting session, departments will build their budgets from January through June. We will provide a mid-year budget update to your board, and that typically includes a forecast for the next 5 years, as well as what our financial status is for the current fiscal year. That'll happen February 14th. Your board just approved the calendar today. And then you will receive the recommended budget from our office on June 1st, and recommended budget hearings will be in mid-June, June 19th to the 21st. So I do want to echo what John said. I think this is such a terrific organization to work with, and your board has just given all of us such great support in all that we do. So we want to thank you and all of our staff. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you for the report. Questions, Supervisor Tissier?
I just have a question on the Community Vulnerability Index. You talked about having a day tomorrow. Is it possible to get, since I have meetings out of the office tomorrow, to be able to see this at some point, especially before December 6th, because you're talking about setting priorities for next year. And that's something I've always been interested in, is to see where we're strong and where we're weak on some of the services we may provide geographically. And so I'd really be interested in seeing that.
We'll make sure to make rounds with the board before December 6th with it. But we're still developing it and tweaking it with data from departments. So we'll.
I just think that's terrific, though. Great, great work all the way around.
Good job. Supervisor Pine?
I just had one quick question, and then a comment. You mentioned the refunding of the Youth Service Center and Colma Creek flood control bonds. Did we have to pay those off, or did we refinance them?
It was refinancing. So there were tranches that were higher interest rates, and so the refinancing actually went out and got those rates reduced.
Okay. And I wasn't aware. I'm pleased to hear that we're bringing some of this lean practices into other parts of the county.
Yes.
I mean, Sheriff Bolanos mentioned it, and you mentioned a couple other places, and it seems to have had really impressive results in the health department.
Absolutely. In health, HSA has also taken it on as a department-wide initiative, and they brought a lot of training in. It is by far, and we have some of our lean leaders in the audience here. We have 10 lean leaders just from our office and a couple other departments. But it is a practice that, it's a mindset. It's the bringing everyone in the same room. Maybe they work with each other or not, but just to map out the whole process and see where you can make some efficiencies really on the fly, and then putting an implementation plan in place and executing it. So, and departments have really taken on implementing a lot of the improvements, and we're really happy with the results.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Horsley.
Just want to comment that working with our county manager, John Maltby, and his entire staff is really a pleasure. And I just want to actually thank mostly Peggy Jensen. because of the work that she has done on Home for All. We did that the task force between Supervisor Slocum and myself, the Housing Jobs Gap Task Force, but Peggy has done such a remarkable job. Just put a lot of thought into it, and a lot of work into it, and I feel really fortunate that we were able to move it so far along, and it's really because of your dedication, and of course Sophie and Jessica and Sarah from my office as well, and I know that Maya from Supervisor Slocum's office as well. But I think it's really important to address that issue, and I want to thank you personally for all your hard work.
Thank you. Supervisor Groom.
I'd like to say the same thing to Peggy and her team, especially the budget analysts for the living wage ordinance. That was something that we set out to do, and got it done in a fairly seamless practice. But it was with working with our stakeholders, the work that was provided by Peggy's team made all the difference in getting agreement and getting coming up with a final document.
Thank you. I wanted to comment first. Thank Supervisor Groom for her leadership on this housing matter. I think we created that task force a year and a half ago or so. But it was Supervisor Groom who provided the energy for that. I think the group worked diligently for 9 months, and now we've moved into this Home for All phase. There's a remarkable amount of work that has gone into that during these past 9 months, and that continues to go on. And so to Ms. Jensen and her team and Jessica and all the rest of the people that have contributed, it's just an amazing body of work that we've brought to bear. And I think, frankly, some of that work laid the foundations for Measure K. And I don't know what the latest percentage was, but 70% or so. A pretty amazing journey from when Supervisor Groom proposed this idea to today. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to Ms. Jensen. Thank you. With that, thank you.
Thank you.
Now it's time for item number 8, the County Manager's Report, number 22.
Mr. President, members of the board, I just want to wish you and your loved ones a happy Thanksgiving, and in these uncertain times to thank you for your strong leadership. This county will continue to be a county that is noted for providing public services to our most vulnerable people, and for being an inclusive and a community with opportunity for everyone.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll move to board member reports. Supervisor Pine?
Sure, I could think of something, but I'm going to pass.
Thank you for passing. Just kidding. Supervisor Tissier.
Believe it or not,
Oh, no.
I don't have an announcement on Age Well Drive Smart, but I would like to congratulate, I'd say the board, but really Dawn and Warren on their efforts with Measure K. I mean, that was tremendous. It was, 64, 65%? Yeah, it was, what a difference, what a difference. And the time and effort and heavy lifting made a huge difference. So thank you.
Thank you.
I pass, Mr. President.
Thank you. I do have a report. I'm sorry, you all. I know it's been long, and I'll try to be really brief. But County Manager Maltby and colleagues, I've had the opportunity the last couple of weeks since the election, I guess it's been a couple of weeks now, to talk to teachers, both at the community college level, grade school level, middle school level, and they're all saying the same thing, that students are really upset. And are, especially the Latino community, upset with possible deportations and the stress that those kids are living under, not only with housing crises and just, wage issues, but now piled on top of all that is this issue of the possible deportations. And I know my wife's mother was locked up in an ICE van. She was legal, but she got rounded up, and Maria tells me the story of when she saw her mother in that ICE hold, that what it did to the kids. And so if you can fast forward to today, who knows what's going to happen, but I know teachers are saying that they're having a really hard time. Kenyatta College has grief counselors on duty for the students up there. Redwood City School District is doing something for the kids, and I'm sure a lot of other school districts are, but I'm wondering if we couldn't, through our mental health and Ann Campbell and, you know, the resources that we can bring to bear on this. I don't know what that program might be, but maybe we could put our heads together and figure out something to ease this burden. Some have said, well, give it 20 days and this will all pass. I'm not sure that happens, but especially in those minority communities, North Fair Oaks and others throughout the county, there's a lot of stress with families and kids and students and teachers, and I would hope that we could put our heads together. Thank you. I appreciate that. With that, there's no closed session?
Yeah, there is. We do have one matter for closed
We do have
session, and
closed
I do
session?
need to come back and report out afterwards.
We'll report back. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Oops, sorry. It's not working. You got. I want you to look at a student assessment every single person there. So figure what they need, get them out of there.
Okay, we're back. Mr. Byers, do you want to report from closed session, please?
Yes, thank you, President Slocum. The board, there are two items listed on the agenda, but the board only considered one of them, and that was the Banks versus County of San Mateo matter. The board did take action on a unanimous vote to authorize the board president to execute a contract with the law firm of Kerr and Wagstaff for $300,000 for legal services defending the county in the case of Banks versus the County of San Mateo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byers. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.